Hey everybody! Today we are doing another episode of Those Guys on the Radio. I'm Matt and I'm here along with
Tristan.
Tristan. You need to get closer to the mic so people can hear you be sad and tired at around 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sorry, the Force doesn't transmit my voice the way it used to. I'm a bit ethereal.
That's fair, aren't we all after this movie? Now we're talking about episode 9, The Rise of the Skywalker. It officially was Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with all of you. Just last week. And also, Tristan, something funny. It seemed like we haven't actually talked to everyone on the podcast for months now. Seems like a
Yeah.
lot of stuff has gone on in the world since we last talked to everybody. But here's the thing, though. We recorded a bunch of stuff in advance. So there's some stuff that we've talked about that we're not going to disclose here, everyone. But that's going to be coming out on our Podbean within the next month or so. Some stuff with you, some stuff with Anthony, and also with John. So it's funny. We actually recorded a lot of this stuff in advance before everything went to everything. Before things happened in the world. So it's actually very interesting that, like, recording this live now, it legit feels like it's been forever. But for some of you listening in, hopefully you've been listening into some new episodes on for Friday Night Movies or for Anna Saturday that we've had come out recently. It hasn't been that long at all.
Right.
But either way, though, talking about episode 9, I don't know. I'm mixed. I'm very,
Where
very,
do I begin?
yeah. It hurts because I came into this hearing that this was awful. And when Tristan, you know my modus operandi. When I hear that something is awful, usually I come out with a better opinion of it. I'm like, no, because we've been doing this we've been podcasting for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
You know that when I come in and I'm like, man, I heard nothing about this, or man, I heard bad things about this, I find like little things to like. And don't get me wrong, we're going to talk about some positives in this movie as well. But man, was this movie pretty bad. And it hurts because it's Star Wars. You and I both grew up with Star Wars. You know, it feels like we've seen a slow decline of Star Wars, but it really sucks because, well, actually, I should say, minus The Mandalorian.
Yes.
The Mandalorian helps me wake up in the morning.
Is the shining piece of gold and the last bit of Clone Wars that we got.
Right, I haven't. I'm only on I think the last. I'm literally on the season that we podcasted. So if we podcasted on season 3, I think episodes 1 to 11 or 1 to 12. That's the last bit of Clone Wars I've seen. Well, you're not going to spoil it. You've seen the final season of Clone Wars, and you're in love with it. So it seems like when it comes to animated and television, Star Wars is doing very well.
Yeah.
But the movies, specifically this last trilogy, really dropped the helmet.
Yeah.
It really dropped Darth Vader's old crusty helmet. It dropped the BB-8. You know,
Who did you do to him? He's in more pieces than the Falcon. At least he's not on fire.
that was funny. You know, that's the funny thing too. The first half of this movie, very funny. I feel the second half of this movie, not even that it wasn't. I was laughing, but I should not have been. I'm being serious. So
I
Tristan,
know.
before I rant and rave about this, your thoughts have kind of changed in a way throughout the last few months, because when you initially saw it, you weren't on the same track that I was. Am I correct in saying that?
I guess, yeah.
Like, what were your initial thoughts of it before you actually saw, like, oh wow, people disagree with me, and oh no, they're making good points? Like, what were your initial thoughts? Because I'm actually curious. Because,
Well,
like, again, now we somewhat agree, minus a few points. But initially, it felt like you and I were on opposite ends of the spectrum.
I mean, I feel like I had two. I was kind of split. I understood why there were people who did not enjoy what they saw, but at the same time, and I guess I might as well just. Well, I mean, if you've listened to this podcast before, you've heard me talk about Star Wars before, probably. But I'm very emotionally invested in the series.
Well, because you and I, we both grew up with it, but you
Yeah.
stuck with it when I kind of moved away as I got older.
Yeah, because I mean, my parents were both really invested in it.
Yeah, and my
So
dad showed me the VHS tapes. I sadly don't have those originals, but I then rebought them on eBay a while back because they were so
yeah,
cheap, those
right.
tapes. So, yeah, I saw
So
it.
like,
I wore out the tapes.
yeah.
But
Oh,
again,
me too.
yeah, but as I got older, I saw 1, 2, and 3, and I was like, I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I was singing Luke's theme. I was like, da na 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 na
I
na,
mean, it
not
was
for
funny
me.
as because Episode One was actually the first Star Wars movie I saw in theaters.
Me too. Bad
Um,
movie for me to see in theaters. I was
eh,
not as interested as a kid because we were both around the same age. We had to be 7.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was 99.
Yeah, I was not as interested. I was there with my mom and 2 childhood friends. One of them fell asleep. My mom was not happy about that.
Wow.
Well, because
Shit.
she paid for the tickets. She was
Yeah,
like,
no, I get it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
She
but
told us,
yeah,
she was like, well, you fell asleep and, we took you to the movies. And I'm like, Mom, don't worry. It wasn't a good movie. I know, but I really wasn't like super into it compared to 4, 5, and 6 that I got to see at home.
yeah.
But you keep on going. You
So,
saw
like,
the first in
I
theaters.
still, I enjoyed Episode One. I still do.
I
I know,
enjoy.
hot take,
I
but
mean, well, no, no, no. I mean, we've talked about this before. I enjoy
right,
episode
yeah,
1, specifically, of course, for Maul and of course, Duel of Fates. Episode 2 is, I think, where they dropped the ball, and then 3, I think they picked it up again. But by that
yeah,
point, it was still like we gotta stop this, and then they did because that was their that was their prequel trilogy. But so yeah, so
yeah.
you first saw the first one, episode 1 in theaters, and again you kept up with it. You watched Clone Wars.
Yeah,
And
I've seen Clone Wars, I've seen Rebels, I've seen Resistance too.
and of course you've read some novels, not too many, but you've read some. You've kept up with the
Yeah,
comics, so you're really you really do enjoy Star Wars a lot. And
and on the other hand too, like, so yes, I'm very emotionally invested in this series. Like, so is my family. So like going to see a Star Wars movie is kind of a family event for me.
which
And
makes sense because it ties it to family, not in like a
right,
oh corporations control our lives kind of way, but like in a
yeah,
we can actually like come together and enjoy this just in the same way that you do with Godzilla.
right, yeah. And so, but on again, on the other hand, I'm not the type of fan that's going to trying to defend it dying on a hill. Like, I get it. There
And
are a lot of objective things that went wrong in this movie.
And another thing too, if anyone is listening to this and didn't hear us talk about episode 8, while we both had problems with episode 8, we're also not those people that are like, the problem is that women exist in our media. Like,
Yeah, no.
no. What was her name? Phasma?
Yeah, Phasma.
Sorry, every time I
Or-
try to think of her name, there's a video game called, I think it's like Phantasmagoria or something.
right, that's
And
what you texted me when we were talking about it earlier.
I did Phantasmagoria, I believe, and
Right.
it translates that to that in my head. But anyway, so Phasma, she should have lived. It's not for us. It's not like, oh well, yeah, she's a woman. It's a good thing that she died, or oh, Holdo is bad because she's a woman. It's like, no, she was played by Laura Dern. Who do you think you are
Yeah.
if you're going to insult Holdo? But no, but seriously, like episode 8 had its problems, but not because women, and not even because of what they did with Luke. I actually enjoyed what they did with Luke. I
Yeah.
just knew that I sat there and I was like, oh, Abrams is coming back for 9. This is not good. Bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially, and then when I say bad things, it's funny. This isn't me shitting on Abrams because I actually
Yeah.
enjoyed episode 7. I was rewatching that today, but trying to do a marathon, and I was
Yeah.
watching 7, and I was like, wow, this is really fun.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, like, 7 was a good setup for things to come, and well, they never really came.
here's the problem, right? The problem is that while 7 was a good setup for 8, nothing in 8 set up 9, and nothing in 7 set up 9. So
Yeah.
when you look at things like, oh well, we have this dagger, and I'm like, that would not nothing mythical has ever been really discussed other than if you want to argue that the Jedi arguably are mythical in a sense, mythical mixed with sci-fi to be kind of
Yeah.
like a fantasy in space. But
Yeah.
and to be fair, that you can argue that's fine, but like bringing in a dagger seems very much outside of mainline movie Star Wars themes.
Yeah.
And so you bring up the dagger, and then you're saying, "Oh, hey, by the way, Palpatine's back." And I'm like, "Well, again, none of that was mentioned in 7, and not even
Yeah.
a somewhat, not even a low key trying to be like, but what if? I think maybe someone said perhaps like they mixed in Palpatine's laugh amongst all the voices in 7 with Rey. Was that ever discussed, or am I wrong?
of
You know when Ray had a vision and you had all these different voices in her head? I
yeah.
know one of them was Obi-Wan.
Yeah, you heard a lot of different voices, but I think it was. I don't know if you ever heard like
I
Palpatine
could,
laugh or
yeah, I
something.
could, or not even laugh, just anything from Palpatine. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
I
you
don't
heard nothing.
believe there was anything from Palpatine in that
Yes,
flashback because
right.
it's her, picking up the Skywalker saber now at this point, but it's
True,
her
true.
picking up Anakin's old lightsaber
Fair.
and seeing all the things that it had been through,
Well,
and
it,
then
it'd been through Palpatine.
yeah, and then uh
Yeah, no. So my problem is that when anyone who had a problem with 8, okay, fine, but 7 set up a lot of stuff that ended up happening in 8. They mentioned, oh yeah, Luke was doing this. Oh yes, Luke was training Ben this way. Just because you don't like how that turned out, and that for
right.
some reason we don't have a young Ben randomly turning into Michael Myers. It's like no, he actually was. This isn't like some weird complete 180. It's like yeah, like even though you shouldn't have Kylo Ren doing what he's doing. Luke kind of tried to murder him. So, like, I understand that it's not stuff that, people wanted, but it was still a setup. It's not like out of nowhere he's training Ben and that
Yeah.
was never discussed. Like, that was actually talked about in 7. I might have even forgotten about that when we did 8 because I don't believe I saw 7 and 8 right next to each other before we did episode 8. I don't believe.
Yeah.
So I may have
No.
actually missed that. But now watching them all together, I'm like, wow, 8 really picked up from where 7 left off, more so than 8 did with 9, to
Oh
where it
yeah.
feels like this is its own separate adventure. And at some points, and this is why I hate, not hate, but I don't want to be a Sith here, but I dislike the second half of the film because we literally have Luke going against everything he had said in episode 8, in 9.
Yeah.
So,
I
like, it feels as if, what I'm trying to say, Tristan, is episode 8 felt like it was very much like, look, you might not like it, but we're all growing up, and sometimes when you grow up, you see things and you realize, you know what, maybe the world isn't what I initially thought it would be, but I still have to understand that maybe some of the stuff that I did, obviously with Kylo, was wrong, and Luke regrets that, but he also understands in his death that, look, you know what? The Jedi don't control the Force. It would be god awful if we say, well, the Jedi are dead, therefore there is no Force. It's like, who are you to say that? And then it
yeah.
feels like in episode 9, it's like, Rey, you can't let the Jedi die. And I'm like, wow, this is bad. You're writing two different Luke Skywalkers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it feels like this is the Luke Skywalker that people who were complaining about 8 wanted to see, but
and I
at this
get it,
point,
but
yeah.
guess what? You get older and you change. Everybody changes. And if you want to go see Luke's cool, crazy, wacky space adventures, go read a book or go read a comic. There's still canon comics out there about him being cool when he was younger, right? They're still making them. Disney's still making them, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I know that because they're making ones of Vader. I'm pretty sure they're making ones of Luke being cool with Leia and Han, probably.
Yeah, there is a mainline Marvel comic with Star Wars that is I think they're in their second phase now where it's between episode 5 and 6.
Oh, wow. So they're actually. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Because
And
they did a
yeah.
bunch that were between 4 and 5, and now they've gone to the second phase.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But like
Yeah.
even moving away from those, there's still a bunch of non-canonical but still fun adventures that exist out there of
Yeah.
all of these characters. So it's not like those are all being like actually erased. Like, as far as I know, Disney isn't buying copies on eBay and burning them.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they've reprinted a lot of them just with the Legends tag on
that's
them.
actually really funny. Just like they're
Yeah,
not canon, but give us your money.
basically.
That is funny though. But no, but what I'm getting at though, Tristan, is the fact that you're writing two different Lukes. Where again, I get that you wanted a Luke to be different, but it is what it is. Like by doing this, you are quite literally having Luke just be two different people. And it's not even like you can say that episode 8 didn't happen because Luke is dead. So if you said, "Oh, I'm going to skip episode 8," it's like, but then why Luke dead?
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
mean, and even at the end of 8, Luke gets to be the hero that he's supposed to be. He goes out and becomes the legendary Luke Skywalker for one last time.
yeah,
But I mean, I don't know if okay, like it is I'm I'm trying to think of how to word it the best way, because yes, in a sense, like it is a 180 for his character, but at the same time, I don't know that he says anything completely specific about the Jedi themselves. He's more just mentoring Rey, being like, "Hey, you can't make the same mistakes that I did," and that he's bringing that conversation that he had with Yoda, where Yoda tells him, "Pass on your mistakes, your failures. That's where you can learn the most from. Pass that on to Rey. Like,
Yes,
yes, you did fail, but
wait, no, but he failed. So okay, so Luke failed in the sense that he did not trust in Kylo Ren. He did not
he
trust
didn't.
in
Yeah,
Ben.
he didn't trust in Ben.
That's his failure.
Yeah,
But his failure wasn't, oh no, like because he was kind of like 180. Like it was interesting. Even in episode 8 he was conflicted. He shut himself off from the Force because in general he is a conflicted character of, hey, listen, the Jedi, like we should, even though I'm here, I don't necessarily believe in all that anymore. But then of course once Yoda's like, all right, fine then, burn it, he's like, whoa, the sacred text. And it's like, come on, page
page
turners,
turners
they
were
were
they?
not. One of my favorite things from Yoda,
Red to
because
have you. Well,
I know, yeah, I perused. No, yeah, that's what
page
I,
turners they were not.
that's what I love about Yoda, where he's like, look, you don't have to be conflicted about this. It's okay. Clearly, like you're right. The Force does not die with the Jedi. That is vanity. That's not just Luke being mean about it. It's accurate
Right.
because by the end of 8, you have this nice little boy that we're never going to see again unless maybe he's related to Palpatine, who is just like who's just sweeping on a random planet, and then he gets the mop, or not the mop, the broom to him by using the Force, and I was like, oh, and he's just a cute little, just a nice little kid, just being like, hey, guess what? You're a nobody too, just like Rey, but that's okay. Anyone can have the Force. And then in this one, it seems to be, no, you have to be related to a Skywalker or a Palpatine. Otherwise, too bad, kid. And and I don't think that Abrams is like trying to shit on kids here or anyone here. I just think that it's immense fandom in the face of logical storytelling progression. Because look, Abram doesn't have to like what Ryan Johnson did. I don't want to say that he does or doesn't, but it was done. It is now canon. You don't like that, you don't have to come back. You can be like, wow, you know what? I had my vision. They kind of went off the rails with it, and I don't think I can do my vision because there's no way I could bring this back to what I wanted it to be.
Right.
And that's okay. They were going for a different director completely for 9, and for some reason, I don't know why, Trevorrow, I don't know what happened with him, but we talked about that on our Keikaku Corner show years back. That they were going to go with Colin Trevorrow, and now he's just listed as a story credit, i.e. he gave something to this, but I'm sure it got, all mixed up and jumbled up, like many movies do by the end of it.
I believe there were, like, the script was leaked at one point, I believe, and...
Oh, it was different.
Yeah, and I think the consensus was people liked that idea a lot better.
Well, first of all, Palpatine wasn't in it. That I remember.
Right.
I don't believe Palpatine was in the leaked script. And also, something I want to mention as well, by the way. I have problems with Palpatine, and it's not even that Palpatine exists, because I do actually think that's a very fun and interesting concept. My problem is as I mentioned before, because there's no building on it in 7, and with the way they executed it here in 9, it feels like it isn't even a joined trilogy from 7 to 9.
Yeah.
And also the fact that with the way Palpatine describes his plans, which is also very vague and confusing, it seems like he couldn't have done anything at any time. But it also feels like, because arguably he died, but he somehow came back, etc., etc. By him coming back, it's like, so you really couldn't have done anything until right this second? Like, you've been chilling here since episode 6. So you couldn't have done anything for like over 20 years? Really? Like, you just tried once. Like, look, there was like one time I could have gotten her. After that, oh well. It's like, really? Because wasn't Rey like 8 and now she's maybe 28, I guess? I'm assuming. So like 20 years, maybe 16 years.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I'm not actually sure what the ages are for them.
By the way, so look, I know the original Star Wars, other than Luke being 19, I don't believe they gave anyone ages. But can I just say, Tristan, that it is so weird that, like, Adam Driver is a 36-year-old who I would imagine is playing a 26-year-old who acts like a 16-year-old. And we're all supposed to be like, yeah, that guy. I like that guy. I I don't understand. No, I'm being serious though, Tristan. How
Well,
old
yeah,
is Kylo Ren? Because Adam Driver is 36,
right.
and don't get me wrong, he has a baby face, and he's a good-looking guy. Reminds me of a handsome motherfucker I see in the mirror every day. But but I'm just saying, Kylo Ren. I don't believe they've given him a canonical age? Question mark.
I don't know of one.
And then when they did the flashback in episode 8, it was the funniest goddamn thing in the world because Adam Driver is supposed to be a 10-year-old in like feety pajamas while Luke wants to kill him. Um, so that wasn't supposed to be funny. Granted, that's episode 8, but still.
Yeah.
No, yeah, so it's just super odd, like, because in general, it's not even episode 9 thing here, but just in general, I don't know what any of these characters' ages are, so like I don't know what the general scope of time is. I just know that because it's been, 40 years since the original trilogy, everyone who was in the original trilogy looks old as shit.
Right.
And they're all like, man, look at our, don't worry, I'll bring Ben back. Good, because he's only 15 years old. Yep, it's only been 15 years. Like,
Yeah.
how old is Ben? How old is Rey? Finn, I mean, well, no, Finn is a real person. He wasn't even born from a pod. So how old is Finn? And again, that's not necessarily a problem with 9. It's just an overall thing that I've had in my mind that we've talked about before.
Right.
Also, very little Rose Tico in this movie, which I understood that apparently initially she had a lot of scenes with Leia, but of course, since the passing of Carrie Fisher, rest in peace, we ended up having less Rose Tico. But it still feels like a slap in the face because with all these people online that literally harassed her to the point where she had to get off Instagram because she was getting death threats.
Yeah.
This is Kelly Marie Tran here, who played Rose Tico. Because of that, you would think that it's like, not that you make her the hero of the movie or anything, but like you would think like, oh, well, I mean, and to be fair, she's still getting paid the same amount regardless of how many scenes that she's in. But it just does feel like a random kind of slap in the face when I believe adding it all together, she literally is in the movie for like less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure someone actually did a calculation on that, and it was like legit less than 5 minutes she was in the movie.
Right. Yeah, it does feel like because even Finn goes to ask her, last chance to, jump on the Falcon with us, and she's like, no, I'm supposed to go over schematics for Star Destroyers with the General, which, hey, okay, sounds like a good idea, but that never actually goes anywhere.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't feel like it in the movie. Maybe she was the one who found out about the radar that they have to target once they get there.
Also, and I know this is going to sound weird, but it genuinely, I was talking to you about this. I know you saw the movie again recently. You did see it again recently, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Good. So maybe you know where I'm talking about here. But when both Finn and Poe are talking about Leia, and when Ben is talking about Leia, not about her technically, but her to Rey. Like, oh well, just the way he said something about Leia. Again, it wasn't him talking
when they
about.
were on the. I think you were talking about when they were on the Death Star and she gets the other holocron.
Yes.
He was saying, you were trying to prove to my mother so much that you were a Jedi, and you've proven something completely different now.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. So the phrase
Proving
you were trying to, like, pointing at her like you were, and then also looking at a Finn and Poe, where Finn was like, yeah, well, you're no General Organa.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, I know that, screaming about it.
Right.
It was so odd because I could swear to you, Tristan, put my hand on a Bible, I would swear to you, you cannot convince me any differently, that they filmed that with Leia's death in mind and then moved the scenes around in post or something.
It's possible, yeah.
Now, usually that does not happen in film. Don't get me wrong, films can have, production issues and whatnot and bad schedules and etc. etc. But what I mean by that is that like the way they said it, they were talking about her as if she had already died, and I'm sitting here
Right.
and I'm like, no, Carrie Fisher has passed away, Leia has not, and then like 20 minutes later, Leia just pieces out, and I'm like, so now she's dead.
Yeah.
Man, would it have made sense if some of these lines were later in the movie?
Right.
Unless Kylo thinks he's about to kill Rey, it's weird to say you were trying to prove this. It's like, no, you are trying to prove. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like if I say, "Oh yeah, it seems like you're trying to prove to your dad that you're, a strong fighter." It would be weird to say you were trying to prove it to him because it's like, my dad's like right there, dude." You know what
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying?
guess it's the idea that he's supposed to kill her at that point or
Maybe.
throughout the movie, which is also a weird thing because later on Palpatine's like, I never wanted you dead, I wanted you here.
Well, you have a shitty way of showing it because you sent a guy who's ready to kill everyone and everything.
Right.
Um,
Which
my
I suppose like I mean, I feel like at that point if Kylo had killed Rey, he would have been like, great, I'll possess you then. Or, the other way around, he's like, oh, I never expected Kylo to actually kill you. I knew you'd kick his ass.
I I would hope. I mean, for me, you know what it is too with Palpatine at the end. The problem is that obviously, again, the general stuff that I said before, dude, couldn't you have done this at any time? Why'd you have to wait until now? And then she's there, and it's like, I always wanted you here because you could take over the throne, and you will essentially, like, he was trying to, it seemed like he was trying to word it as, I will take over you as soon as you take over the throne, but to me, it came
Yeah.
off as, you're gonna kill me, and in hate, I live on. Good for you. You go, girl, kill me. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he sees Skywalker and he sees a Palpatine, and he's like, oh, I could just absorb all your powers. And I'm like, this
Well,
was not that this can't actually happen.
yeah. I don't
Because
think he knew that like
it's
he
just
was
convenient
he
then.
was trying to kill them both at that point, and once he absorbs that energy and it starts to I think it's he didn't realize that it would start to regenerate him in a way. He's like, wait a minute, this is oh.
Yeah, then it just felt weird because he didn't
Yeah.
say that. He's like, my plan was to kill you. Or my plan was for you to kill me. Things have changed.
Yeah.
It was just so fast that I
It's in
think
that moment that he figures out the dyad between them. Like they are a dyad in the Force, something that hasn't been seen for generations. Granted, her and Kylo have kind of figured that out at this point.
yeah, no, like, why is he so late to the party? Allegedly, he's watching all of this. He created a
True.
Snoke and a half.
That's fair.
I
Yeah.
say a Snoke and a half because there's the Snoke. Well, no, because there's a Snoke in the test tube, and then Snoke was cut in half. So it's a Snoke and a
There's
half, right?
there's like three Snokes in that test tube.
Oh, sorry. 3.5 Snokes. It's the newest show on CBS.
um,
Snokes.
See, that would have been interesting to tie 8 and 9 together, or even 7 and 9 in a way. Like, or I guess what I had thought looking back at 8, if when Kylo had killed Snoke, you hear Palpatine, or you hear a laugh, or you hear something.
Some even like an audio cue that someone could
Right,
be
a
like,
visual.
you heard no, but even like an audio cue if someone was like, yeah, well, I heard a portion of Palpatine's theme, like something that maybe some eagle-eyed fans could pick up on,
Yeah,
but it was nothing because
yeah,
this was never the plan. I mean, maybe it was from Abrams,
yeah,
but
right.
it wasn't the. I mean, it didn't show in 7.
Yeah,
It definitely didn't show in 8, and now he's trying to explain all of this, and it makes almost no sense. And when I say almost, here's what I mean, right? I can accept that Palpatine was dead and is still alive again for some reason. I can accept he never died. I can accept this is what I think is the best version. He laid dormant, and he had awoken, seen what the world had become, and he goes, I can use this.
yeah.
I cannot accept that Palpatine has been literally sitting around for 20 to 25 years like, I'll wait.
Yeah, well, because the idea, and it's funny. I've seen plot from the game, and I haven't actually played it. And weird tying game into movie, but
Mm.
to fill in, that's the thing. Like comics, books, games have always been for Star Wars a way to fill in other areas. Not necessarily should be used to fill in plot holes,
Well, no,
but
because that's the thing. Like, you could
expanding the universe.
but that's the problem. I'm
Yeah,
cool with expanding, but for some reason,
right.
the way some things were released with this movie, I believe there was like a certain epilogue that was only released through Fortnite. That's not a joke. That is not a joke in
Yeah,
2020.
no, that was bullshit.
And it's
Yeah.
not even about the fact that Tristan doesn't play Fortnite. It's
No,
the
because there
fact
was
that
also a VR game too, Vader Immortal, that was supposed to have hints about where Kylo is at the very beginning. He's on Mustafar and finds the. I think it's supposed to be the ruins of Vader's castle, but that's never explained either.
right. And
So yeah,
so
no,
yeah, and that's the problem is that like and I think maybe Disney might have learned from some of the negative fan reaction from this is that maybe they learned, oh, people don't like it. Like they like lore building,
yeah,
but this feels like an incomplete game with movie DLC.
yeah, because the whole idea of the First Order, or Palpatine's whole idea, is when if he was to be killed and his empire allowed him to be killed, that it should be burnt to the ground, or like the idea that nobody else should have it, burn it to the ground, and I'll come back. Either I'll burn it to the ground myself, or I'm coming back to then rise a new, more powerful empire out of the ashes, which is supposed to be what the final order is.
Yeah. I I'm sorry, I'm looking through some people who like cameoed in this movie. And I
Okay.
was just so yeah, so sorry. So before we get to some of the interesting cameos, I I think that look, I'm not saying that Palpatine doesn't isn't a he's a guy who has a calendar. He
Yeah.
crosses off the days on his calendar, but I he's that kind of guy. I mean, obviously the way he took over the Senate, like yeah, it took a while for that plan to come to fruition, but
Right.
at a certain point though, it just seems like it's a bit too much of just I'll wait and see, because like what if this shit just didn't work in this way? Would he be like, I'm good, I'll wait a bit longer?
Yeah.
Like it's very much like a I mean, I guess we'll see what fucking happens kind of bullshit, that it just
Yeah.
ended up so it just happened to work you
Because
know
usually I would say like, oh, I mean, it's the evil, it's the bad guy's hubris that gets him in the end, ultimately, because that's what happens all the time in Star Wars. But
in any
even
in any
like,
film, really, that's usually
right.
a good explanation.
But even I, in this case, can't really point to that. Like, even that's too much of a stretch for me at this point.
Also, who were those fucking night nurses, those like Silent Hill nurses that were like helping
Yeah,
Palpatine? Like what the fuck was
the
that?
I mean, it's supposedly like the Sith Eternal is what the group is called, and it's basically just followers of the Sith. But
Oh, so they're like evil versions of those beings at the monastery in episode 8.
I guess you could think of it that way. Yeah,
Cuz they were pissed at Rey as she's like constantly
yeah,
breaking things, and they're like, "Okay, they're
yeah.
like evil
And I
versions
mean,
of them."
again, in other stories, yes, the Sith have been a widespread group. They weren't always the rule of two, but from if you look at books and wise, Darth Bane, from him on, which was before Palpatine, he enforces the rule of two, and every
Exactly.
Sith follows it afterwards. There is only a master and an apprentice. And from the movies, that's what we've known of the Sith. So for Palpatine to come out here and be like, no, you know what? I mean, granted, he doesn't necessarily follow tradition either, because the Sith were always, not always, but most of the time, they were like, yeah, let's just blow everything out of the sky, and that's how we'll take over.
Also, to be
Whereas he
fair,
and
didn't
Titus kind
he
of like, let's recede into the shadows and play politics a bit, see how that goes.
also I might be misremembering, but didn't he arguably break it by having both Maul and also I can't remember his name.
Dooku?
Yes, thank you.
Well, they technically weren't at the same time,
Oh, sorry. Okay, right.
and then he picked up Dooku.
My bad. Okay. Um but yeah, I just Again, it's very
Yeah.
much
You
something
can
that
think he's grooming Anakin to take the role as he still has Dooku.
there
So
we
whether
go.
that's
Sorry.
technically breaking the code or not, who knows? But
What I'm getting at is I'm happy that Abrams is a fan, but
yeah,
he needs to kind of understand that not everyone is as big as a fan as he is, because I don't want to say that. Like, obviously
no,
there's a lot of big
right.
fans out there. Like, can say, ooh, this wasn't that good, and you're a bigger fan than I am. But I think it's the issue of, at a certain point, it's like, all right, look, this is what the movies have been doing. You can slowly bring this out, and that would be interesting. But it
Right.
seems like because he didn't have that time with eight, I guess, which again, it's like,
Yeah,
dude, if you're not here, then don't fucking do it.
right.
I mean, it's very odd that it just became like, oh, like, I would love to one day, and I know it's Disney, so it'll probably never happen, but I can't wait to one day hear like a tell-all of like what happened, where like you'll have
Yeah,
Abrams be like, actually, I didn't want Palpatine, and they told me, well, we want Palpatine, and he was like, well, I mean, I guess if Ian wants to come back, thinking that he wouldn't, and then he's like, oh, I would love to, and he's like, I guess we have to have Palpatine.
yeah. I mean, I've heard. I haven't heard from his like. I haven't seen a clip of JJ saying it explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. But the
Right.
idea was that he wanted to bring Palpatine back as the end all be all villain for the Skywalker saga because Palpatine has been there from the beginning. With Anakin from episode 1 and now all the way to 9. He's had his arc with Anakin, he's had his arc with Luke. Now it's Rey's turn to take on Palpatine and to
Right.
finally put him to rest. So I get, like, overarchingly, I get what he was trying to go for, but again, like you've said, execution wise, kind of missed the mark.
Yeah. And, again, like, I have no problem with him awakening. It's just the fact that, like, because he's just been pulling things from behind the scenes, all the strings. It's like,
The Palpy awakens. The Palpy needs 5 more minutes.
basically, I'm fine with that. But
Yeah.
he's just been chilling there. So much
Yeah.
has happened in the background. Like, think of all the canon that's been going on since his demise.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Episode 7, Episode 8, the Star Wars Christmas special. It's too much. Stop it. It's too much.
You
He
had to
let
do
that
it.
happen.
I know.
He
No,
let it
actually,
happen.
I'm sorry, I don't. What are you talking about?
That's when he should have stopped it. Well, actually, no. Wait, was that after episode 6, or was that between 5 and 6? I think it was
I have
between.
no fucking idea.
No, I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure it was between one of them, because they had a animated show about Boba. I think Boba was still alive.
Yes, they did.
Never mind. Never mind. I'm
I think
pretty
that was
sure.
supposed to be the technical first look at Boba Fett.
And then that got canceled,
Yeah, and then
or it never
yeah,
got picked up. But
yeah.
yeah. So what?
That was one scene that we actually talked about earlier. We didn't talk about it here, but I wanted to go back to real quick.
Oh, we
Um,
talked about it like before we began the show.
Yeah, before
Oh,
we
okay,
began the
okay.
show. I've heard people were like I've seen people doing various synopsises on YouTube, being
Hmm.
positive, negative, or in between. Most trying to be objective, and most pretty much are. The scene where Ben talks to Han.
Oh God, that made me cry.
Oh yeah, no, dude. I mean, a lot of things made me cry in this movie, and that's the thing. It for me, who's a being of emotion, a lot of the emotional, scenes in this movie resonated with me. I got it. I resonated with that emotion, and it worked. Unfortunately, when I pull myself out of that and look at it objectively, I'm like, oh, the story is not. It doesn't work the way it's supposed
Well,
to.
because you know what it is, dude? It's not like I'm saying, and you're not either, I assume by extension, oh, these actors just didn't bring their A game.
Oh yeah, no,
You
by
know,
no means.
it's just what they were given.
Yeah, I feel like everybody brought what they could to the table,
Yeah.
but
I
there's
felt
only
so
so much they
bad.
can do to.
You know what? I'm gonna look at some of our Facebook chats so I can see some of the lines that I threw at you.
Right.
So I can actually be like, oh, Tristan, I said this dumb thing. Let me repeat it for the listening audience. But keep going. What were you gonna say?
but yeah, the moment where, and the idea that, well, okay, so I think you left it off at Leia pieces out. Yeah, that was it.
Yes, that's the
She
exact quote that I said. Damn it.
right.
Yes,
Well, yeah, you said it in the show just earlier, but
I know that's why.
so she kind of pulls the same idea that she tries to project herself to Ben, even if it's through just her voice. She's doing the same thing that Luke did in 8, trying to contact him, trying to reach him one last time to be like, "Hey, come back to us." And that in her passing, it's in that moment that, which, take it or leave it, whether that's enough to bring him back from what he's done. Rey actually takes that moment to stab him, which I was like, oh shit, in the
Yeah,
moment.
right.
But she does end up healing him because she realizes, wait, I didn't actually want to kill you. I don't actually want to do that.
I just thought like, oh, I thought you were gonna dodge and I was gonna nick you and then maybe have a talk with you. I did not think that would actually pierce skin.
Yeah,
Well,
I
shit.
didn't think I was actually going to impale you.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, it felt good in that moment, but not my intention. Not 100% anyway. But the idea that Kylo, like Han says, I can't, or Ben says, Kylo says, I can't come back. I'm too far gone. He's like, no, my son is alive. Kylo is dead. And the idea that Rey had killed Kylo Ren in that moment. Ben can now come back, and my son is alive.
Right.
I mean, he does try to make the say she's gone, Dad. Like I can't make it right now. It's too late.
Yeah.
And he says, yes, your mother may be gone, but what she fought for and what she believed in and everything she stood for, that is still very much alive. You can't destroy that. But I think, of course, now some people say that Han shouldn't have used the "I know" line, or the "I know" line shouldn't have been used in that point. But for me, I felt that was important because it's now Ben trying to say to his father, "I love you," but
Yeah.
it's Han Solo. Like he has to. Yes, he's showing emotion, but he's never going to go the full mushy route.
Yeah.
So yes, he lovingly says, I know my son loves me. I know you do."
Yeah,
And I
no,
know,
I'm okay
yeah,
with that.
right.
And you know what? I can't even complain about like I said like it feels odd that this is what killed her, but I can't actually say it, only for some reason it just feels odd compared to it killing Luke. I don't know why. Maybe because she looked like she was genuinely in better health than Luke, who
Yeah,
was subsisting off like porgs.
I think like they kind of tried to make it seem like Leia was kind of on her last legs.
But it never. And again,
Yeah, it never.
I can't complain because look, Carrie Fisher passed away.
Right.
I literally. I'm not saying I can't critique it at all because I am
Yeah.
critiquing it, but I can't like get on the same level as I am with all this other stuff that I'm talking about because
Right.
you had to work around that.
Right.
So be it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Exactly. There's
Yeah.
only so much you could do.
Exactly.
And I feel like they wanted to give her a proper send off in a way, and I believe that they still do that
Yeah.
because the scene with Poe, that is another scene I love when Poe goes to her. The sheet is covering her,
Yeah.
obviously at that point, and he's like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do what you did. Be the leader, be the general that you want me to be. And it's lovely when Lando comes in to talk to him, and he's like, "How did you do it? With nothing." He's like, "All we had all we had was each other." Oh my god, am I getting choked up that I can't even fucking say the line?
Oh, because I was sitting here and I was like, "You have not had a drink in a while. Are you doing okay? Because you're not drinking right
Yeah.
now. You good?" Well, no, for me, so even Lando's whole thing was weird because I love me some Billy D. Williams. I loved him being in the film. He was in the film for longer than I thought he was going to be. When I saw his initial cameo early on, I was like, "Oh God, is that it?"
Yeah.
But I'm happy he was in the film for some more screen time. I do wonder what he was going to say before Leia's death, assuming that she wasn't going to die in the initial script, or at least die in that way in the initial script. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But in general, though, I feel like this movie felt too safe for me. And that's kind of the problem here.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk of that too. trying to
Where
return to a place where the masses would, this is in line with what our Star Wars should be, kind
well,
of
you know
idea.
what it is? Not even just that, but like look, I understand that both Leia and both, Ben died. But at the same time, though, it just feels weird that so many people get to live when we're not going to continue this story. Even
Yeah.
though they did talk about the fact that in 20, if, I mean, obviously things have changed in the world, but if everything had been going on the way that it was going on, by 2022, we would have had an episode 10, which Vomit,
Yeah.
but there was no talk of it being about any of these characters.
Right.
So, unless they wanted to keep people alive because they want to make more comics, which, you know what, honestly, Tristan, maybe in 5 years, that's what happens. When they get through 5 and 6, they go, let's do them about 7, 8, and 9. So maybe
Yeah.
that's what ends up happening.
I guess.
But maybe. No, I'm saying I genuinely don't know because as of right now, we're ending these characters' stories. And look, I'm not saying that everyone in 6 had to die. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that while episode 6 felt like episode 6 felt very much like, all right, we're ending this on a very happy note. In this
Right.
case, it's like we're ending this not so much on an awful note, but that like this is a big world ending battle and none of you
Yeah.
are arguably superheroes compared to other. Yes, some people have the Force, but other than the people that have the Force, arguably none of you are super. Like at least with something like Avengers, if you don't lose half of the cast, it's because, well, you know what, hey, a lot of these people are superheroes. Yes, they're fighting a super villain, but a lot of you are superheroes and a lot of you are fighting grunts and you're teaming up. That's kind of
Yeah.
the way I looked at Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of odd in a way because, like, Anakin's supposed to be, granted, if you believe the prophecy and you believe Anakin to be the chosen one, whether it's Anakin or Luke is up to people's interpretation at times. But, like, Anakin was supposed to be the chosen one, and he's damn powerful. And even he still died, I mean, he turned into Vader and got hacked up a bit by Obi-Wan, but he still died as a man, He wasn't super Jedi.
I love how much of a nerd Kylo is because, like, um, Vader needed that apparatus to breathe. And
Yeah.
Kylo's like, it sounds really cool, and I would like one.
Yeah.
Like Vader needed that to breathe. Vader was like, it kind of hurts to be near
Yeah.
sand. And Ben is
It
just like,
hurts to be alive.
and Ben is just like, me too. It's like he gets me.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's the like. It was funny.
I'm so
For
sorry
me
to
in
interrupt.
7,
I'm so
like,
sorry to interrupt, but I want to say one more thing, just one more quick thing.
Yeah.
Man, made me so angry. Just, you were every voice I ever heard. Were you my crush in the 6th grade? Yes, I was.
Oh my god!
You dumped me. You broke my heart. Yes, I did. That was the point.
It was to help turn you towards the dark side.
We only talked on the phone, of course, because you heard my voice.
Oh my
It was
god!
perfect. Loved it. You're kind of a dick. I am, yes.
Oh, the biggest in
Yeah.
the entire
Anyway,
galaxy.
I can keep on making Palpatine jokes, and I will, but before I do, you were going to say something. Please
Oh,
continue.
yeah, no, that was good. I can't even be mad about that one. That was too good. Shit, what was my... Oh, right. In 7, yeah. Like, Kylo is supposed to be... Yes, he is that knockoff Vader. No lie. But he does have a sense of menace to him until he takes his helmet off. And then it was, even for me, I'm like, wow, nothing against Adam Driver, but this... You don't really scream Sith Lord to me.
And again, I think that was the point.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, in a way, humanizing him to a point to be like, see, I'm part of the dark side, but I'm still a person. It's
Well,
like,
not even just still a person. It's like, no, you're clearly not. Like, in other words, I think of it like 7, which again, it was an Abrams film. It seemed like very much like, oh yes, this guy is a nerd. This guy is not a menacing villain. Like, he's trying to be like Vader, but he's really not. Like, he's trying to be everything he isn't.
Yeah.
But the problem is that in the scope of Star Wars, when you kill that many people in that many ways, it's like, look, I know he's not Vader, but he's pretty close, so we probably shouldn't be like, at least
Right.
as a fan base, we probably shouldn't be like, everyone can be redeemed. It's like, nah, he's pushing 30, maybe even more than 30, and he's killed like billions of people by now.
Yeah. Why I do like the fact that Ben Solo is redeemed, like Ben returns, but he does not live at the end of the movie.
I
because
give you that, yeah.
he can't.
No,
Even
he
I was
can't.
like, so Ben has to die now, right?
Yeah, you mentioned that before, and I really should have said I agree with you 100%. I don't like that he was redeemed, but also he did need to die if that is the
I
case, and
mean,
he died.
in that sense, yeah, like if you don't like the redemption, I understand, but like that's it's honestly the point of Star Wars. Like it's supposed to be that everyone is redeemed, or you can be redeemed.
You
There
know
is
what it
hope.
is? It's interesting because they said that about Vader, but I would
Yeah,
argue Vader was not redeemed overall. He was redeemed in a very how do I look at it? How do I word it rather? A very intimate like
yeah. Like
family.
Luke, he
Yes,
was redeemed in Luke's eyes. Like Luke got to see his father,
but
but
Luke isn't. But Luke understands that he's not going to go around and be like, you know, who's been redeemed in my eyes? Random
yeah,
person from a planet that was ravaged by Vader. My
right,
dad, Darth
right.
Vader.
I
You
mean,
talk like that
you look
around
at
here again, boy. You're gonna get a blaster to the asshole. Like,
like you see that through Leia too. Like it's more expansions. I can't remember if it's a novel or whether it was a comic, but
mm-hmm.
at one point somebody explores that. Like Anakin as a ghost tries to contact Leia, and she's like, "I don't want to fucking hear it." And it's like, "All right, fair."
Anakin's just like, but I'm not Vader. I'm Anakin. All right, Anakin. Well, tell Vader he's kind of an asshole. Hangs up the
Yeah,
phone.
right. And like Luke being like, "Oh, come on, Luke, I don't want to fucking hear it." All right, okay, I'll drop it.
Yeah. So that's the thing for me. It's kind of like it felt like it was redeemed in their eyes, but in this case, it feels like it's trying to redeem Kylo to all of us, not just to
Yeah,
I don't know.
his
Maybe I'm
family.
wrong. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but it felt like very much like you could still go, wow. And also, I think Vader's both advanced age and the fact that he needed this apparatus to live that you didn't realize at the time because 3 wasn't out yet.
Yeah,
So it was so you didn't know. You were like, oh, he has a voice changer. It's like he's like a robot or something. You don't know. You know,
yeah.
then you find out, oh, he's his dad. Well, that's awful. And then all of a sudden, it turns into 6, where it's like, oh no, he's like,
Right. He's like, help me take this helmet off, but you'll die. Well, nothing can stop that now.
yeah, exactly. You've done the job, son. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the
Um,
thing. Like it felt very much like very much like oh, this is a family thing. In this
yeah.
case, it doesn't really feel family related because they're not of the same family. I mean, we know that because they get kissed. So they're not anywhere related. So it's just quite. It's something is just off about it. It
Yeah.
doesn't really
'Cause
resonate, and I don't think
even,
even if Abrams had 8, I don't think it would resonate. Like,
I,
oh, we have
yeah,
to redeem
I
Kylo.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about
Um,
how Ryan Johnson did
right.
8. I just feel like
Right.
in general, because I would argue with the way Ryan Johnson did 8, I was like, oh, they're like teetering with Kylo, but then it's like, no, he kind of digs his heels in. He's like,
Right.
I'm really not interested in all this stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, so then we're supposed to be like, well, then you're the big bad guy, and you're the big villain who maybe we redeem, maybe we don't in Episode 9, and then
Right.
Abrams comes in and goes, actually, what if it was Palpatine and Kylo's good? And I was like, what? No. Not
Yeah.
what? No.
Because it really does feel like, Kylo leans into it full tilt. Like, no, like, this is going to be my galaxy and I'm going to rule it. Which
Also, yes.
would have also been interesting. I would have been interested to see that take.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Question.
I feel like there are like 2 or 3 different possibilities for all of these characters that I would like to see fleshed out, but
And like
in separate things, like separate spin-offs. Not movies, maybe novels.
you know they could make probably based on what's on the cutting room floor,
Oh,
they could probably
dude.
make another 2 movies out of this just based on what they've already filmed,
Oh, hell yeah.
which is insane. And don't get me wrong, a lot of movies, doesn't matter if you have a good or a bad production, a lot of movies have so much extra footage that you can that's why
Right.
there's like a theatrical and a director's cut. Like Blade Runner has like what, like 4 different cuts?
Yeah, right.
So like you can to be fair there's so many different types of ways you can arrange a movie, the scores, like in general, not even just movies, just art in general, it's so interesting. Like I've put it, just even on such a small scale, Tristan, on small as hell scale, for stuff on our YouTube channels, I've shown you different like music and different clips and how it completely changes the type of clip it is, if it's funny, if it's
Oh yeah.
terrifying.
Right.
And that's on a small scale, not a fucking, billion-dollar blockbuster. By the way, despite some of our issues with this film, it still did quite well. Its budget was $275 million, and it still made a little over $1 billion. So I don't know how much money they put into merchandising, which it's Star Wars. So even though they don't need to, they probably put way too much.
Yeah, all of the money.
All of the money. So I would laugh, dude. I would laugh so hard if Disney's like, only $1 billion, we barely broke even. It's like, guys, then maybe don't fucking, make like Star Wars everything, you know? And that's another thing too. I think that's why some people, myself included, are a little tired with Star Wars, a little worn out. Because at a certain point, it's like, it felt like every 2 years it was ramping up the merchandising to the point where, like, I didn't realize. I'm like, oh my god, I'm in Star Wars. I'm an NPC. Holy shit, I didn't know this. Wow, I've become Star Wars. Like, the marketing is so good. I didn't realize I am Star Wars.
I'd be okay with it.
No, but I'd want to be paid for it. I want to be part of, like...
I want to be paid.
I mean, I'm an actor in Star Wars.
I ain't in this for your revolution, and I ain't in it for you. I expect to be well paid.
So, like, obviously... So here's the thing, right? So, obviously, fuck that guy. But I'm happy that he was the spy, because that was the one thing from 7 and 8. From 7 and 8 that I'm like... This makes sense. This isn't just something from 7. Even in 8, that guy was kind of being dicked around a bit. He was in the background, but he was still kind of being dicked around. So it makes sense that now when Kylo is the supreme leader and he's just some random guy in a council, not even the second in command, that was the other guy, seemingly, the older guy, who seemed to be
Kylo
kind of big.
Him in control later on, because I'm pretty sure Hux was the commander of the army. Like, even Snoke says it to him in 8. He's like, oh, you wonder why I keep such a stupid idiot in control. It's like, because I know I can control him because he wants more power. That's why.
But I'm just saying that, like, it seemed like not that he was demoted, but that he wasn't really as high on the totem pole as he was in 7.
True.
To me, 7 and 8, he seemed like he was, like, pretty good. But then 9, it seemed like just like a background dude. And it's like, because he's like, I hate this man so much.
Yeah.
I will give you all the information you need. And I love that too, by the way. The other guy's just like, oh, I was shot in the leg and they escaped. Oh, interesting story. Pew! We found our spy.
And fucking blasts him away right there.
Oh man, we found our spy. And I was like, that's great.
I'm like, because fuck Hux. Fuck him.
By the way, he could play Tarkin. Like, if they did like a Doctor Who thing where they were just like, let's just recast someone as this character instead of being like, oh, let's do the big budget Disney thing, which is everyone is CGI now. No one is real. Your sense of reality is lost.
Yeah.
No, dude, there was a point when I saw one shot of Carrie Fisher, not the one with her young with Luke, or the one later with her and Luke where they were standing. Not those. I'm talking about like when they were Force Ghosts. I'm talking about like early on, like the first shot we ever see of her when Rey comes down from her Forceness. Yeah. And that had to have been a fake CGI Carrie Fisher.
I believe it was, yes. I believe that scene was CG.
Not the whole scene. There was a part of it, maybe like a minute or two later, where I'm like, okay, they're clearly using footage they filmed much earlier, because that was clearly her face. But there was this random shot of her, and I'm like, wow, that looks like someone on the internet made like... Because, people on the internet now, they could like post people's faces onto other people's faces now. That technology exists.
Right, yeah, I've heard that. Yes,
some of it's really bad, and that's kind of what this movie looked like for that one scene. I was like, oh, what the hell? But I'm a little confused, Tristan. I feel like you would know this over me. At what point did we hear Mace Windu?
When Rey gets her Super Jedi powers. When Palpatine absorbs their life essence and Rey is getting back up.
I didn't hear anybody...
When she's looking out over the battle and she looks out into the stars, into space, into the cosmos.
So you're telling me at that point we heard Yoda, we heard Qui-Gon Jinn, we heard...
Mace?
No, before Mace, even before Mace, we heard... did we hear Anakin?
Yes.
We heard Obi-Wan, 2 versions of Obi-Wan.
Yes.
And we heard Mace Windu call somebody a motherfucker? Is that what you're telling me?
No.
say like, "You motherfucker." That's what we heard, because I'm pretty sure we did not hear Mace Windu call somebody a motherfucker. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know how that
no,
made it past.
you're correct. He did not.
Okay,
He was heard, but you're
okay,
right. He did not call Palpatine a motherfucker,
okay.
and
Good.
that is a grievous sin.
That is Grievous.
Oh no, I've become the very thing I swore to destroy.
General Kenobi.
Oh, you're gonna have to kill me, Matt. There's no redeeming me at this point.
Why, hello there.
Um,
Like,
it's
literally
interesting,
Ray's
though.
like, stop talking, Jesus Christ. Like, just all these voices in her head. They're just having normal conversation.
It's funny for me because I didn't hear it the first time, but I saw an article talking about the voices you hear, and there's actually, there's a character from Rebels that you actually hear his voice too in there.
That's
And
nice.
the second time I listened to it, I heard it, and I was very happy.
Oh, that's actually really nice.
Yeah, it was. There were actually a lot of Jedi talking at that point.
What?
That is one thing that I was kind of disappointed about, though. Because I'm pretty sure in the trailer, you hear, and I believe it was only used for the trailer, because when you hear Luke at the last moment say to Rey, and remember, the Force will be with you, always, it's only Luke. But in the trailer, I could have sworn that they meshed Luke and Leia together saying, always. Which I felt like should have been in there too, but it wasn't. At least I'm not sure that it was.
I think one of the trailers did have her say that, and then they had the shot of her in the jungle with Rey. Right? Like, they showed her face saying always. Because I don't remember hearing the audio without her.
I think it was the close-up of Rey with her lightsaber ignited, and it was, you hear both Luke and Leia saying always.
Okay, I think maybe they must have used, maybe they used archival footage for always.
Yeah,
and that's why they didn't use it. Like, it wasn't an actual full sentence.
Right, possibly. But yeah.
So I'm looking at some of our messages to each other.
Right.
I wrote, I thought Poe ends up marrying Daft Punk.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was under the impression, first of all, who likes Daft Punk enough to create an entire character based off Daft Punk? No, she is more Daft Punk than the band, than the group Daft Punk. Like, I'm just saying.
Daft Punk called up JJ and like, who the fuck stole one of our costumes to use in the movie?
No, that would be like if you saw Palpatine's new face and you were like, I'm pretty sure that's just a mask from Slipknot.
Oh my god!
Like, that's the way I looked at this. No, but in all seriousness, though, she is a character. She would fit right in. Like, someone could Photoshop her with Daft Punk. Like,
oh yeah. Oh, because I even said to you, I was like, and don't tell me that Daft Punk costume doesn't fit in with Star Wars.
And that's the thing. I said, oh, I never would. I could never.
Because it does.
Oh no, it does. Yeah, I my problem, if we're talking about Poe now for a second.
Yeah.
My problem is I feel like having, and I don't know if this was a JJ decision. It didn't have to be. I didn't see the original version. I'm assuming some of the leaks were before JJ came on. So I don't know if JJ is the one who decided to make Poe a spice smuggler. Is that the official Star Wars term on Wikipedia?
Well, I don't know about that.
But it's a spice smuggler, right?
Yeah, you're a smuggler. You trade spice. Yeah.
But again, by trade, basically, I mean, if we're trying to make this a real world thing, I'm just keeping it real here. I'm trying to really nail it down. You're a drug dealer.
To being called a drug dealer, yeah. Granted, spice, the drug dealers call it spice, but technically the plant that it's made from can be used for medicinal purposes. Unfortunately, that's usually not what it's used for.
So he literally is a weed dealer.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way.
No, I mean, like, it's funny. You're like, no, they call it spice because it's a drug, but it has medicinal purposes, like marijuana. Like, what do you... Like, I mean, yes. Like the ganja. Like, it's literally oh, you're a ganja trader. Yeah, fine. Oh, ganja coming up. Like, that's literally, like, what Finn was making fun of him for, which I don't have a problem with them dicking around with each other because
Yeah.
they're
You
married.
were a
But
spice trader? Oh yeah, and you were a stormtrooper. You were a spice trader? Yeah, you were a scavenger. I could do this all night.
but that
I
was so
laughed so
bad
hard.
though. But that was so bad though because like Stormtrooper, I get it. That wouldn't make sense. But I love
Yeah.
that all he had on Ray was like, yeah, well, you're a scavenger. She's like, bro, that's
And
how I lived.
right, yeah. Well, I guess the idea for this is like Poe is like, and this is how I had to make a living. Like I wasn't proud of it, but it was before I joined up with the Resistance, which
Yes.
oddly enough, before I guess before he was a drug dealer, or maybe he was the drug dealer first, and then became part of the New Republic Navy, which seems odd. I feel like the first way I said it should be the way that it happened.
Yeah. All I'm getting at is this, right? Whoever it was who made that decision, really bad decision. The reason why I'm assuming it's Abrams is because I feel like in Abrams' mind he's like, oh, he could be like the Han because everything has to connect to everything because fandoms.
I
And
mean,
it's like,
basically,
but the problem is it's twofold. First of all, in episode 7, he was never the Han
no.
of the
Like,
group.
if anything, he felt more like the new Wedge Antilles to me. Granted, Wedge, again, I've said this so many times, he didn't have that much screen time.
But
And
that's the thing. He had more screen time, and even though I
right.
love the actor behind Poe, he was a less sexy Wedge. Let's just keep it real here.
I mean,
I've seen Wedge. That man is a look. He was cut down in his prime. All right, he would have been the Palpatine with a bunch of babies if he lived.
oh my god.
I mean, Wedge Antilles, just with a name, Wedge Antilles. Who doesn't want to be an Antilles? I'm trying to drink water, and all I hear is a bunch of clacking in the background. Like I'm thinking, like on Google, statistics typing, "Who has Wedge Antilles fucked?" Like, all right, dude.
No. I mean, if you've read Rogue Squadron, Wedge really doesn't. His love life is non-existent because he's just too devoted to the cause. Not for lack of trying, mind you. But
All right.
granted, the rest of the pilots. Well, that's the story for another time.
Look, all I'm saying is this, right? All I'm saying is that he didn't seem like he was their Han. So when you kind of throw it in here with no build up, with
Yeah.
no like I didn't watch episode 7 and think, "Oh, we don't know much about Poe because frankly, other than the fact that he was with stormtroopers, we didn't know much about Finn. And
Right.
other than the fact that, Rey
Yeah, if
was
anything, Finn kind of to me had felt more like the Han Solo.
Yes, thank you. So when you sit there and you're like, wait, what do? We have to make him like one of the, one of the originals, and he can't be a princess, even though I think he could be a prince. He could have been like an escaped prince or something, but he can't be a prince or a princess. So
I
what
mean,
are we
shit,
gonna?
there are ideas that Poe might have even been force sensitive, but that's from comics. Granted, they're canon, so.
Arguably, they are.
But arguably, Finn is now the one that's possibly force sensitive. That was never really answered. They teased it throughout the whole movie, but we never really got a yes or no on that one.
Yeah. So the way I look at it is that, and again, I don't think that Abrams or Disney was like, let's be racist. Hey kids, can you spell racism? Like, no, they weren't trying to do that. But when you have your only brown character be the dude who was a drug dealer, when that was never even, when that at no point you could go, oh, I see that they were foreshadowing something like that. No, he was an amazing pilot. Now you could argue someone's like, well, I mean, how do you become an amazing pilot? Well, allegedly, like you said, he was with the Navy, although that's a pilot, but versus the sea, but still, he was in the Navy, and also the fact that he's with the Resistance now. So I would argue he got all of his skills in the Resistance, like everyone else. I feel like a lot of people are like, man, I'm pissed off at the Empire because they've killed everyone I've ever loved, and then they find the rebellion or the Resistance, and they're like, look, I'll do whatever I can, and some sink, and some swim. Sadly, the ones that sink, it sucks, but I'm assuming they take anyone they can.
Yeah.
They vet you. They don't want you to be a spy or anything, but
Yeah.
but they're still like, hey, look, you want to help us out, so be it. Not everyone
Yeah.
has to be Finn from the First Order,
Right.
or Rey.
Yeah.
Like
The
sometimes,
Resistance will take what they can get.
exactly. So I didn't know anything about Poe, but I assumed like, hey, man, and you could argue that it's like, oh, but what if he just didn't come? It's not like I would be saying the same things if it's like, oh, he didn't come from a good life. But to me, it would be like if Finn was like, before I was in the First Order, even though I was a child at the time, I was also a pimp. That's the same level of like, you weren't trying to be racist, but that's some racist shit right there.
Yeah. Because, I mean, as far as I can tell from comics, that, like, Poe's parents were heroes of the rebellion.
Why couldn't we just go with that? That's canon.
Right, exactly. And he was in the New Republic he was in the New Republic Navy before he joined Leia's resistance. So, like, where the fuck was the time where he was dealing spice? That's what I don't get.
And that's the problem. They had to come up with something when they could have just taken what's already canon, and that's the issue with the fact that...
because I feel like they were trying to give Poe this kind of edginess to him that Han had, like you were saying before, and they kind of had to wedge it in there somehow, and it didn't.
When he should have just been the wedge.
Right, he should have. Yeah. I mean, shit,
You've
I was
ascended.
so happy that they brought Dennis Lawson back to be Wedge in this movie. Like, I really wish you could have had Dennis Lawson and Oscar Isaac together in two X-Wings and see them take out a few TIE fighters together. Like,
it's just, yeah.
Do you know how much I would have fucking loved that? Can you hear it, the enthusiasm in my voice, Matt?
Yeah, so that's the issue, is that...
You can hear the octave change in my voice currently.
I don't, obviously Disney doesn't want to do something that's perceived as racist because obviously they want to sell more tickets to everyone. They don't want to seem like, oh, fuck, we just did something racist. But, like, this is why people talk about, when creating movies, some people are like, we need more diversity here. And some people get confused. They're like, well, why do we need more diversity? It's like, because if you had more diversity, you'd most likely have somebody catch, hey, guys, the only brown guy you have is now randomly a spice trader, spice smuggler. Why? And maybe someone goes, well, it's like Han Solo. And it's like, well, yes, but Han Solo was white in the 70s, so that seemed kind of cool and edgy. And also, to be fair, they didn't really... I know they mentioned, like, he would be... yes, they said smuggling, but I don't believe they mentioned spice in the original movies. Am I wrong in saying that? Because I don't think they outright said, like, yo, you dealt drugs, bro. I thought they were like, yeah, I do odd jobs and I go on missions, but I didn't do anything stupid as going to the fucking Empire's doorstep.
I don't think in movies they actually specifically say what he was transporting for Jabba the Hutt, but it's also Jabba the Hutt.
Well, no. Don't get me... Well, I would assume it would be some illegal guns, some illegal weapons trading, because it's Jabba the Hutt, and he's like space mafia. But
you're right. It could be illegal weapons, but I could see Han hauling spice because the idea is that spice is the most lucrative thing to trade in.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, don't get me wrong, like,
and that's in the universe, but
yes, anyway. I'm just saying that at this point we're in the year of our Lord and Savior Kazuma Kiryu 2020. You would think that in 2019, 2020, someone would be like, fuck, oh goddamn, they're not going to think about Han. They're going to think, damn, we just made a random I believe I keep on saying brown, but I could swear that the actor behind Poe is Mexican. I don't believe I'm wrong in saying that. Could you look that up, Tristan?
Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
Sure.
So that's my issue, and it's funny because
American Guatemalan.
Oh, Guatemalan. Sorry, I'm the asshole here. Sorry. So he's Guatemalan. And so, and I'm saying this as a, Cuban Puerto Rican. So I'm just saying that, like, it would be weird if you put me in a movie, you had no foreshadowing of it. I signed on to do the 3. And then by the last one, they're like, what if you became like a drug dealer?
Although I will say, there is a connection between Poe and Han and the actors. Like, they do have that suave look to them.
Well, of course. I mean, Oscar Isaacs is fucking amazing.
I know. Because some of these headshots that I just pulled up for Oscar Isaac.
Damn. You didn't know? You've been seeing him in 3 movies. You had no idea.
Oh, no, I knew. I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say it again.
By the way, I don't understand, and I'm not saying this is homophobic at all. I'm just being very honest here, though. I don't understand how you have 3 movies, and Tristan, you and I have both been agreeing with this, even in this movie to a certain extent, although they seem to downplay it a little bit in this one. But for the first 2, at least, it felt very much that it was like, oh yeah, Finn and Poe, they're like going to be a thing, right?
Have the most chemistry on screen with each other.
Yes. Even though while rewatching episode 7, I was like, oh wait, no, Finn and Rey actually do have some chemistry.
Yeah.
But it seems like they dropped that like a ton of bricks. I was confused because I
Yeah.
feel like, and it's weird too because 7 and 8 are both Abrams films. So it's like, did Abrams think that in episode 7 there was actually a connection between Rey and Ben when Ben was like, "I'm gonna go into your mind."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's not foreplay.
Uh, uh,
No, like that's foreplay when everyone knows what's going on. That's he kidnapped her and was like, "I'm gonna look in your mind." Like, it's just weird that 2 movies later she's like, Ben. Like, what I'm trying to say here is, and I don't speak for women, but I feel like if I'm just saying, if anyone wants to disagree with me and you're a woman, please comment down below. If you're watching this on a YouTube channel, we have open comments, please do. But I feel like after getting your mind
invaded.
wrenched by a dude, 2 movies later, you smile at him and go, Ben, and you snap his neck. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I said it when we cast it on 7. I felt like Rey could have killed him in that moment when she struck him down. If the Earth hadn't split apart in that
Yeah.
pause, I feel like she would have totally stabbed him for killing Han. But yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, I don't think you have to be a woman to be like, wow, that's not only not good romance, that's just not romance. Like,
Yeah.
you and I have seen bad romance, or we've seen plots in movies where you're like, man, I feel like the romance in that wasn't even really built at all. It was just kind of
I mean,
like, it
look,
stunk.
hey, we got a bad romantic story through Anakin and Padme, but I guess we had to have that parallel here too.
But that's the thing, though. It's not. But that's the thing. That was bad, but they tried, and really, it was on both what they said to each other. But they were trying, though. Like,
The
Lucas
dialogue's
was like,
cringy, but the idea of them getting together didn't make your stomach turn, at least, sort of.
yes, and also the dialogue was cringy. As much as I love Natalie Portman, just some of the and Hayden Christensen, he's good too, but just they didn't have chemistry. It didn't really work with them. In this case, not that Ben and Rey didn't have chemistry, they just weren't even working towards that in 7 or in 9. Maybe you could argue a little bit in 8, but it felt like more of like if they apparently, because this is how it looks like if they were 2 dudes, then it would be a rivalry. But for some reason, it's one dude, one woman, and all of a sudden it's actually something more. Where it's like, you're really going to tell me that that's something more, but then Finn and Poe are only a rivalry?
Yeah, right.
I mean, dude, episode 7, I was rewatching it, and I saw...
God.
No, I saw...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought of something else.
Okay, good, because I thought you were thinking of what I was thinking. When Finn's like, oh, do you want the jacket back? And Poe's like, no, it looks good on you. I don't know if you've heard this online, Tristan, but there's like a popular meme that goes around where when something like that happens, someone says, there is no heterosexual explanation for this. And it's like, look, I'm not saying 2 people can't just be the best of friends, the best of buds. Like, obviously, I have amazing best friends who are guys. I'm just saying, Tristan.
Yeah, that, shit. Like, I can tell you look good in a leather jacket. That doesn't mean other things, but also that doesn't mean it can't mean other things either.
Yes, but what I'm getting at, though, Tristan, is the way they both played it off of each other.
Right,
It was not even sexual, just very, like, oh, tender for 2 people who, like, just met.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, hey, that's my jacket. Oh, I'm sorry, do you want... No, it suits you. And he taps him on the chest. I was like, oh, good for those 2 guys.
Right.
Good for them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in 8... we end up having Finn with Rose, which I love, by the way. Don't you love, Tristan, when they have them kiss, and then in 9, you just never mention it again?
Yeah, I don't...
I mean, holy shit. You could at least have had something in the opening crawl like, Palpatine is coming to kill everyone. Also, Rose and Finn are, like, not together anymore. It's kind of sad. They're not really talking about it.
It's kind of awkward. They don't want to talk about it. Please don't bring it up for them. They've got other things to deal with right now.
Please understand, in my head, as you're saying all this, I'm still hearing dun 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 dun. As you're saying all this.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the thing. Like, you don't even fucking mention it. Like, look, I understand that she wasn't even on screen for, like, more than 5 minutes. But, like, even at the end, they didn't embrace. She embraced Chewie.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was interesting, too.
I mean, someone had to, but
Rose was in part of the... Well, I mean, she was basically leading the charge for the ground assault when the teams split up between Finn and her.
Right.
But,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Someone has to hug Chewie. Everyone he loves is dead. But, like...
Oh.
By the way, that's why I was hoping Chewie would die, because I don't want to I don't want to cry every time he screams over someone's new death.
Oh God,
Like,
yeah.
holy shit. Like, and by the way, that's another thing too, by the way. Like, we see Chewie get, at least we seemingly see Chewie get onto that ship. Rey accidentally murders him. You know, whoopsie daisy, it happens. You would think that would be self-reflection into herself, and I thought they were going to go there, but then they said, LOL JK, we can't kill our moneymaker. I mean, look at how much merchandise we're going to sell with all these characters. We can't kill Chewie. That would be sad. So Chewie was actually in a different ship, and they actually have to go rescue him. Don't you worry. Chewie's alive. Rey doesn't have to feel responsible for anything.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah,
Big
I
oof.
felt that was the one they had to be like too safe with. It's like, oh, we can't kill off another main cast. We're already doing that in this movie.
Yeah, well, you know what? I love Billy D. Williams, and I love Lando, but damn, was he just kind of popping in and out like, I want to say I have some great advice. Oh no, look at those TIE fighters. I'ma fuck off. And just bounces. Just
Oh,
retreats elsewhere. It's just like, well, I mean, granted,
Which
I mean, to be
is
fair, in the final battle he came back. But like,
yes, he did.
but
Which that's another one. I'll let you finish what you were doing.
I'm just
But
saying, look, I don't want Lando to die. I don't want Chewie to die. I don't want Leia to die. But it's the end of the trilogy. What are you doing with these people afterwards?
shit, I didn't want 3PO to die either, but I mean, we loaded his memory back up, so he's just back to normal.
That was hilarious. Just, I think I would remember an asshole like you puts the
And then a
memories in.
split second later, R2's unplugging him, and he's like, R2, what the hell are you doing?
I'm supposed to be doing this. Oh, I already did that? Well,
I
fuck
already
me.
did that?
Apparently
Yeah.
nobody cares about me. Um,
Oh.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I didn't want that to happen to C-3PO either. Don't get me wrong. The droids, I don't want them to die. That's really sad. And also, it would be interesting in some weird way to bring them into future movies.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I mean,
yeah.
R2 has to canonically catalog all of the events that happen. It's just that is his purpose now.
Apparently. So yeah, so I think my problem with this is just movie overall. Is that, and before we jump back to you, my problem overall is this doesn't feel like the end of a trilogy. It's just the
Yeah.
end of some random movie that's a Star Wars movie. And
Yeah.
it's okay if it was, but man, does the marketing suck when it's like the end of every Star Wars movie ever is this
Yeah.
one. And I'm like, nah, it's barely the end of this trilogy, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
That I can wholeheartedly agree with.
Yeah. And so that's really kind of where I stand with this. We're not going to end it now, but like that's just where I. What was that?
No, I agree. That's a huge bummer.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not going to say that's where we're going to end the podcast or anything. I'm just saying that before we jump back to you, that's kind of where I definitively stand with this movie, where it's barely an end to this trilogy, like a good end at least. And you're going to try to tell me this ends 9 movies. And look, I understand that's also a heavy task.
Right.
But again, it's barely a wrapped up end to this trilogy.
Right.
Quite frankly, this series, these last 3, should have either been standalones. They could have been a reboot. Not saying that would have done well, because it wouldn't. I'm just saying that if you're going to reuse so many ideas, you might as fucking well make it a reboot, because it's very hard to try to build everyone up when it's really like a soft continuation. It's like, oh, this is a sequel, but really we're trying to build up these new guys. Well, then you get nothing.
Yeah, right. You really can't have both. They were trying, like, it feels like you're trying to do too much with the old characters and then not enough with the new characters.
Yeah.
You don't have time to do both in a movie. It's really.
And they were
difficult.
all around the same length. I thought I was kidding about 9 being too long. Like, I was like, oh, I'm half joking, but I'm half serious. No. I realized when watching all 3 back to back, I'm like, oh no, they were all 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So anyway, please continue with what you were going to say.
Yeah. Another point for me is like the final battle, the space battle. Again, it hits all those emotional points for me, and in the moment, I love it. But thinking about it from the outside, so Rey, gives them the data to go through space to get to Exegol. But like, she was in all of those ships trying to follow her to get out, or trying to following them to get in. or sorry, I worded that wrong. The Resistance fighters, when they first take off, they follow Rey's signal
Right.
to get to Exegol. How did they? I only assume that they also transmitted that data to Lando, but they also had huge ass ships in that fleet. Like, how the fuck did they make it through that?
I assume the point of that was, because earlier on Poe said to Daft Punk, oh, it seems like, no one here is going to
Right.
be
Oh
here
no,
with us.
it's definitely like them coming out at the last minute to be like, but remember, Poe. Like Lando even says, "There's more of us, Poe. There's more of us," and it's supposed to be the biggest fleet amassed ever, and it's just everyone coming together. The guy on the bridge of the Star Destroyer says it. Where the fuck did this come from? They have no navy, and it's like it's not a navy, sir. It's just people, and like that concept I love, but again, the execution of it is very, very rocky. Like that
Yeah.
fleet should have been able to get to Exegol.
It was them trying to do their Avengers
Right.
Endgame moment,
Yeah.
but that makes sense because you literally can say magic because of Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Right.
No, because how did everyone get there? Magic. Doctor Strange had portals. Him and, of course, his entire... I forgot what the magical city was called because it's not Kunlun. Where did he live again? I forgot. Doctor Strange.
I don't know.
God damn it.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You haven't seen Doctor Strange, despite the fact that you totally should, because that new movie's coming out. It's going to be so good.
I know.
Doctor Strange, where did was it just it was something monastery? Was it just the magical monastery? It's Marvel, so they would use
They would do that.
yeah, they would use alliteration.
But yeah,
But
so
the
that's
point
that's
is that
one bit.
yeah, that's so easy to be like, oh yeah, everyone who lived in that city with him magically made portals because they were better they were better at magic than he even was initially. So they all know all these techniques to bring in everyone from wherever they were in not just the world, but I would argue even the universe for
Yeah.
some people. But yeah, when you look at fucking this movie, it's like, so they all got the coordinates and they all somehow managed to get there. There isn't like one
And that's-
random ship somewhere that's like, wait, damn it, we put him in wrong, John. Damn it, Bob. Oh well, I hope
Yeah.
they're doing fine without us. Like, no, everyone
it's-
showed up.
Another idea is when they were on Crate, when Leia puts out the message, they don't even make it like, oh, hey, these are the people that heard your call, but they couldn't make it to you in time to help at Crate, but they're here now. There's no mention of that, because like, so where the fuck was everybody when we were at our darkest hour earlier? Which, I mean, Luke comes in to save them, to help them escape, so there's that. But also, the First Order is ravaging the galaxy, and they put this idea that most people are not, willing to fight because of fear, and that I know, Chewie and Lando are influential characters, and to us they're heroes, but like that many people that quickly, that at that moment, it like I said, the more you think about it, the more it starts to fall apart, and it's sad because I don't want it to.
Yeah, I could
want that to
actually.
be the moment where yes, the heroes triumph and the galaxy comes together to take down the Empire and Palpatine. But fuck.
But that's the thing. You don't have to go that hard. Like, you can just, like, I can actually agree with some of, like, I can actually say, nah, like, just assume that, they didn't listen because they were like, no, we're too scared. And then after a bit, they're like, you know what? No, this seems like it's our final stand. We hear that Palpatine's back. We have to help. I don't know. You could argue that, right? And you can also argue the fact that, like, it just looks good to have them all coming,
Right.
at the end of the day.
What it does look good.
What's
Although
bad though is what doesn't look good to me anyway. This is me.
Yeah.
The fact that when looking at this from an anime lens, right? Usually in an anime, and I'm being serious here. Someone gets knocked down, and then all of a sudden, through the kokoro and the tamashi, like your heart and your spirit, you get up. Maybe you even think of your friends, the way Palpatine teased Rey earlier. And by thinking of your friends, or thinking about how they're with you, or thinking about the people that you've lost, or just emotion pushes you into,
overdrive.
overdrive, going beyond, plus ultra, whatever the fuck you want to word it as. and you end up going to like 150% when your body could only go to 50 because it wasn't 100 before, and you're weakened. But no, you actually push even harder than you ever could, and you save the day. Here, I guess through, I don't think it's even live action, because I watch Japanese superhero stuff and I feel like they pull that off quite well. Not all the time, but some of the time they do. But for some reason here, because it's like, well, no, Rey can't get emotional, because if you get emotional, then that's Sithy. And we can't be getting Sithy up in here. We have to be of the light. So she can't, like, push through with emotions. But it felt like she just pushed through because she was like, I guess I believe in myself now more than I ever did over these last 3 movies. It's like, no, but you've kind of believed in yourself at certain points.
Yeah.
So why now all of a sudden? Oh, because now you know that, like, well, Palpatine's my dad, but I don't have to be, or my grandfather, but I don't have to be a Palpatine. So because of that, I believe in myself so hard that I can just shove back Palpatine of all people. And this isn't a knock on Rey. It's just a simple fact that why it felt like the reason why they had to have her do that wasn't a Mary Sue bullshit thing with Rey, because guess what? Luke was arguably Mary Sue, if you want to go down that route. So I don't like saying, oh, Mary Sue or Mary Stu. It's the simple fact that they were running out of time, and they wanted to cut it down real quick and show her push back, and all of a sudden, oh, look at that. She defeated Palpatine. It just seemed too simple to me. Not even like a Deus Ex Machina, just wait. That just happened?
Yeah.
Really? That quickly?
They hold it, she is all the Jedi, and all of the Jedi are in me, and that the light will ultimately stop the dark. But yeah, it, in a way, like, in the moment, I loved it, her pushing Palpatine's lightning back at him, and it just fucking obliterates him, and even the throne is, like, destroyed behind him. Like, visually, it was great. But
yes. Well, no, because, like, let's think of My Hero.
Simple at that point.
Yes,
like, it's fucking Palpatine.
Like, think of My Hero Academia, right? I'm not gonna, like, spoil any fights or anything, but if All Might is going up against someone who's important, and he sees, or even Deku, his apprentice, if anyone doesn't know about My Hero Academia, All Might is like this, Superman type hero, and his apprentice is Deku, 14-year-old boy. And so they both basically have similar strains of the same power. Again, assuming for some people who don't watch it, I'm just giving them a brief explanation, Tristan. Very, very limited. But what matters is that when you see the visualization of the people who stand behind him who have passed down the power, that is a good visualization of, oh, this is the power that pushes you. Maybe you could argue the voices were a good push, but like a good representation. But I don't know. It feels as if, like, it just came out of nowhere, where, like you and I are saying, it's Palpatine.
Yeah.
And she's, and again, you could argue, oh, but how did, but that was Vader. It's like, yes, but, you could try to fan canon your way of being like, well, he cared about his son. I mean, even Palpatine said, the only family you have here is me.
That one got kind of deep.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, before, when I made the joke about Ren and about or Ben rather, and technically Kylo Ren, and about Palpatine, there was one that I thought of much earlier. Just Palpatine just trying to just kill Rey throughout the years. Just, do you remember 20 years ago when you had, and like Rey cuts him off, or they both at the same time, indigestion? Yes, that indigestion was me. Dun, 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 dun. No, but Palpatine keeps it going. I tried to kill you from within. Like you are now? No. Now it's much cooler. There's like lasers and shit.
No, it's much cooler.
But at the time, I tried to kill you from within. Like,
yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's just like, man, like, he's just chilling around just for 20 years, just doing jack shit.
Like, I'm happy that Rey got the kill, but I'm wondering if, like, they probably, like, wouldn't have the budget, really, or get all the actors back to be able to do cameos of the Jedi as Force ghosts appearing around her. That would have been a neat effect, but again, probably too much.
Nah, dude, it's very anime.
Standing around them, like, yeah, but they're all faceless nobodies, really, so that was easy to pull off. There's millions of my followers here.
No, but that's the thing, dude. It's very anime to, like, have them, like, pan out of her, like, from her, and then when you see that huge scenery behind her, it's just all the Force ghosts.
Right.
It's very anime, it's very Super Sentai, but it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Okay, it shows you a visual representation of how in her final moments she's able to push through and destroy a fucking Sith Lord that is allegedly like the baddest and biggest baddest motherfucker in the movie verse.
Right.
Instead of being like, I know you threw this at me, but what if I reversed it? Damn it, no one ever thought of that.
Or at least, at the very least, like, Ben gets thrown away. Have them do it together. Like,
Exactly.
again, I'm glad Ray got the kill.
Yes.
But yeah.
What's even funnier too is you have like the voice of Mace Windu. So does this mean that none of you believed in me? And they're like, truth you do not want to hear.
Ask the
Mace-
questions you do not wish to hear answers to. You shouldn't.
Windu. I can imagine Samuel L. Jackson. Dick, you are. Truth, that is.
Oh shit.
But
Yeah.
but yeah. So I don't know.
I was
Yeah,
saying-
that's
What two small points about the ships. The only other thing that kind of takes away from that for me is that the ships. Now, granted, I get it. It's supposed to be Palpatine has the hugest fleet amassed that the galaxy's ever seen, and that the Resistance now brings everybody together. Their fleet is even bigger because you can't outnumber the good. A lot of those ships, not all of them, but a lot of those ships are actually copy pasted. Like, people have actually looked in close enough to see there are like 7 or 8 different freighters from Episode 7. The model of that freighter that Han had, there are like 7 copy pastas of those. And I'm not saying somebody else can't have the same ship type, but like it's the exact one. And I get it. They're using the assets. They did the same thing with the Star Destroyers, because the Star Destroyers are actually they're Imperial 1s. They're not even Imperial 2s. You can tell by the bridge. And I know that sounds like it's nitpicking a lot.
Nope. Disney just got out nerded.
Oh, okay.
No, because like it's a beautiful thing. I love it. You're like, I actually know that all of the goddamn ships, not all, but like a decent chunk of the ships are just copy pastes of each other to the point where like
I've seen people do videos about it. So like I didn't do the heavy work. I'm just saying that.
But it's still a wonderful thing. Because like, dude, I notice that shit all the time. Like in certain like I'll be watching like a giant crossover with like Super Sentai, which if some of you don't know, that became Power Rangers in the US, Super Sentai and Kamen Rider or whatnot, and like I'll see certain characters and I'm like, yo, your helmet's darker than it should be.
Right. And like for that massive scale that they were doing,
you have to. I mean,
I'm not trying to shit on them for doing it. I get why they did it.
I mean, I bet you money that if you actually like paused and looked at Episode 7, the crowds are probably copy pasted. Like when is it Hans? I forgot his name. With an H.
Hux? Oh, Hux, yeah.
Hux, thank you. When Hux is giving his Hitler Youth speech to the crowd.
Yeah, right. I mean, then it works as an homage because they're all stormtroopers. They're all supposed to look identical.
I know, no, but like I bet you they're doing identical moves too. Is what I'm saying. Like you could like if you really like stop to think about it. No, I'm not saying there's anything wrong or right about it. I'm just saying that like it has to happen. It's just really funny when you're like they're like the exact same aspect ratio or something like that when looking at the ships. Wait a minute, one of them has a blue line to the left part if you look a little tiny bit, and all of the rest of them do if you look at this one angle. Like, it's just really funny to be like, wow, like you could tell that they're copy pasted. Not that they look awful or anything, because again, this movie visually looked really good. But it's just funny that you could tell that when for me, I would not have noticed because I'm not as into the Star Wars. And I know you said other people noticed it first, but like, it's not like you were like, oh, it's hard to notice. You're like, no, I see it now. I can't ever unsee it. Yeah.
And I mean,
one positive thing. So everyone doesn't think that we hate this movie and hate everything about Star Wars. There were a lot of fun jokes in the first half.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there was even one with 3PO that I loved. When they're walking, they're just about to go up to the festival. And, like, all of them are standing there, and then 3PO walks up behind them and says something, and I can't remember what it was, but, like, I couldn't stop like chuckling at it. I think it was something along the lines of like, "Oh, I'm here too," and they all just kind of like look back at him.
Oh, are you talking about my favorite line where when they're all like in the rubble and like Poe is calling out different people like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he's like, "You did not call my name out, but I am fine."
No, it wasn't that one, but that's a good one too.
It's my fucking favorite line of the
Yeah,
whole fucking movie.
my favorite line is probably still Poe and Finn calling each other General.
Well, that's not. Yeah, I'm talking about from a comedy perspective. That's my favorite line.
Yeah,
General is just. It was. I mean, obviously it's funny, but it's not meant to be like a haha laugh out loud moment. But it's one
yeah.
of my favorite things where it's like, by the way, you're promoted. Thank you, but I would also like to mention this as well. Okay, cool. General.
Thank you. I appreciate that, General. General.
Hmm.
Oh god.
So I'm confused. Is Poe gonna marry Daft Punk?
I don't think so because that was another like it's funny they try and set it up for them to be like oh well they're when everyone's happy and together again at the end they're gonna kiss right and he's like they're on opposite ends of the crowd and he looks at her like so maybe and she's like not gonna happen flyboy and he's like all right.
Well, you know what was weird too,
I
and
thought that was funny personally.
yeah, this is what was so weird. I want to mention as well is that so obviously as we mentioned, no Finn and no Poe. Even though I was under the impression that Poe was going to marry her because I thought I saw some people online saying that was the case. Maybe that's in a novelization or some script or something, some like leaked past script that's not a thing anymore. But I was under the impression that he got married with her. So thank God that wasn't the case. Like I thought he was going to be like on a planet married and they were going to find him again. I'm very happy like none of that shit happened. So that's good with Poe. With Finn, you have nothing with Rose Tico, and you have very little with Rey. Like I thought maybe they're going to try to pick that up again somehow, and then they don't do anything like that. So then you're sitting around and you're like, why no Finn and Poe? And I could swear you had J.J. Abrams just say that they're really good friends. Like, oh no, they're friends. They're nothing. There's nothing else there, despite the fact that again, Seven. They were really close in my opinion for two people who just met. And someone's gonna be like, they saved each other's lives, and I'm like, yeah, but you don't like. Someone saves your life, you don't feel inclined to be like, no, take my jacket. It looks really good on you.
Yeah.
It's my take. But what's weird is that so Abrams says that they're just friends, yada yada, and then they have a scene at the end of the movie where two women who, to be fair, they have been in other parts of the movie. At least one of them I know I've seen her in other parts of the movie. They kiss, and then that kiss is edited out of certain countries' showings of the movie.
Oh, right, yeah.
So my question is, if Disney's gonna fucking do that, then what's wrong with making Finn and Poe kiss at the end? If you're just gonna edit it out anyway.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have it be in a big shot. It could have been earlier on, and they could have just been hand over shoulder with each other at the end or something, and then you cut out the part earlier on, and because guess what, when you bring the movie to other countries anyway, certain shit gets cut anyway. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's about violence, if it's about other types of sexuality. So why, like, it feels very much like a Disney, you're cowards kind of thing. Like, oh, we're not gonna go with this, but we're gonna have two random characters who barely had screen time or dialogue kiss, just so we can edit that out. It's like, all right,
one of those
whatever.
other characters is, I mean, granted, I don't know what her position in the Resistance is, but she's sort of higher up, but she's not, like, again, like, you're right, she's not like a main character. And that's the point.
She's not Carrie Fisher's daughter, who, even though she's not a main character, you've seen her throughout the 3 movies.
Yeah, you have seen that character as well, because she's the one who tells them about Leia's condition in 8. She's also the one that says to Poe and Finn when they come back.
So she had blonde hair, right? That's the one you're talking about? Not the pilot.
I think it was...
Because there's 2 women. One that had blonde hair, who, again, she was in 9 as well. Then the other woman was a pilot who she kissed, who I don't know if I've seen
pilot,
her.
The other woman. I
okay,
guess,
yes,
was she
yes.
blonde? I thought maybe she was blonde. I thought her hair was grayer. But, yeah, no, you're probably right.
Blondish, grayish. Could be both.
Yeah. It was, like, sort of curly.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, the same person.
But, So...
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not saying there shouldn't be any kind of representation. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, if you don't have this representation, you should have no. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, well, if Poe was gonna be a smuggler, then you shouldn't have had Oscar Isaacs play Poe. Like, that's fucking silly. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater here. But why would you like? I don't know. Maybe I'm just one of those shippers online who like takes things that don't seem canon and be like, no, but they're canon. But I
I
feel
mean,
like, but
no,
you don't ship Tristan, and I
I
don't
felt
ship.
like I get it too. Like I've even said, in this podcast right here, like yeah, Finn and Poe have had more chemistry on screen, with the time they've had than most of the other characters.
And I
So
can't even say, because I don't even want to say, oh, romantically they had more chemistry than Rey and Ben, because arguably those two Ewoks at the end of the movie had more chemistry than Rey and Ben.
right,
So
I forgot you made that line. God
I, I
damn.
I told you, yes, I sent you that as a text, and I knew I was going to say it eventually. I just didn't know when. Um, Also, I think I loved when I said to you, I was a quote, a Jedi's weapon deserves more respect, and you put a thumbs up, and then I ended your whole career. Just through
Yeah.
text, I was like, nah, he died believing in the Jedi being wrong. Like, like, he literally threw the thing out the window, and then by the end of it was like, look, okay, maybe I reacted very strongly,
Maybe I went a
but
little
he
too
didn't
hard.
like disagree with
Right.
all that.
Yeah.
I took it as at the end of episode 8, he did not disagree with his initial stance. He was just like, look, maybe I should have been helping out the resistance. Like, it kind of is a dick move during a war to leave.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I thought that was his stance, but all of a sudden, mid movie, he's like, no, Ray, you don't understand. All the fanboys who were upset about the last movie and threatened women and said they weren't going to watch anymore, if for some reason they're watching now, because that's another weird thing, too, trying to appease a fan base that says we're going to boycott. It's like, well, if they're truly going to boycott, then they're not going to fucking watch your movie. Why are you still trying to appeal to them?
And that's fair. Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't try to appeal to everyone you can. I'm just saying that if someone told me, Matt, I'm never going to watch your channel again, because, we have multiple channels. Someone says, we're never going to watch your channel again. I'm not going to be like, no, please come back, only you. I'll do whatever you say. Because, like, if someone told me, right, someone said, hey, I don't like that. If someone told me directly, because Tristan, you and I have known each other for over a decade. If someone said, I don't like Tristan, get that guy off the channel, he's a piece of shit. I'd be like, you don't know him. He's a friend of mine. I'm not just gonna, be like, no, Tristan, sorry, you can't come on because one person said they don't like you. Like, I'm not gonna try to, even if it was half of our audience, I'd be like, well, shit, I guess half of our audience doesn't like Tristan, but he's an integral part of what we do here. So I'm not gonna be like, Tristan, I'm so sorry. Looking at the numbers here, we have to go in a different direction. It's like, Matt, you don't pay me anyway, and I'm like, and I won't in the future either. You can see yourself out. Like, and to be fair, I don't get any money from this either. At this point, if you're looking at the numbers, everyone's looking at it right now. We're not living off this by any means. So, but the thing is, though, all jokes aside, is that like they all said we're gonna boycott this. We're not gonna watch this. They even tried to claim that Solo's numbers were due to them boycotting.
Right. Yeah.
So then, why is episode 9 trying to be like, no, 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 don't you worry, we're gonna hit all the beats that are gonna try to get you back? It's like, no, if they were truly boycotting it, no amount of Palpatine was gonna bring them back. So it just seems silly that they we talked about it earlier, trying to be safe. It feels like they put it through like a calculator, like what will bring in the most engagement. Oh, Abrams. Well, then we must bring back Abrams. Oh, people didn't like Rose Tico, so we must have less Rose Tico. Again, I think that's just a casualty of not being able to have Carrie Fisher, who they filmed a lot of scenes with.
Yeah.
But still, who she did. So it's like, oh, well, then we must remove Rose Tico because people do not enjoy Rose Tico. Again, we did all the calculations and the numbers. Like, it's just a hard numbers thing. Oh, well, people they like cameos. Who do we bring back? Well, clearly we bring back Billy D. Williams. Again, good choice. But we must bring back Billy D. Do people like it when the characters die? No, they do not. They did not like it when Luke died. Oh, then we must not have anyone else die unless, maybe like one or two. But we can't have multiple people dying. We have to create more content after the movies are over. And then, oh, well, Luke said all these things. Well, nobody liked that. So then what if he says, like Luke was like this close to going, and also, remember, Ray, remember what we used to say on the island together when we went through hard times? Fuck Ryan Johnson? That's right, fuck Ryan Johnson. It'd always make me laugh. It would always make me laugh too. And just smile. Like, it just seemed like he was like this close to being like, and remember, who's the best? J.J. Abrams, of course, a pillar of the Force. And again, not even being written by J.J. It just seemed like it was just it was like a script cranker of being like, what do people enjoy?
Yeah, right.
And again, like, that could totally just be a cynical me, because obviously, according to Abrams, he wanted to bring back someone like Palpatine. So that wasn't Disney being like, what if?
Yeah, I mean, even Hamill has kind of said at points, and again, it's my word of mouth, it's not official, but
yeah.
I've heard Hamill talk about it, and it seems like he wasn't exactly enthused at first about the direction of Luke's character. But he did his job as an actor and said, okay, this is where we're going with it, you got it. And he did it.
And then I heard that he kind of, changed his mind, but then all of a sudden now people online are like,
they using that as like, see, there it is.
No, but they're doing it in two different ways. They're going, oh no, see, there it is. He doesn't even like the movie. And then now that he's changed his mind, now they're saying, like, Disney got to him. As if like they're at his door being like, Mr. Hamill, you have 2 currently non-broken knees. If you continue to discuss how bad episode 8 is, we could break them for you. Like, no, like, this isn't fucking, but that's you know what the problem is too, dude? And I'm just, we're just spitballing here till we get back to the movie. Some people out there, swear to God, dude, they're gonna hear that us, with our like 10 viewers at this point, again, this is when we're first doing it, hopefully, this grows in the future, but with our 10 viewers, and they're going to legitimately ask us, how much did Disney pay you? Under 500 subscribers, we are not able to monetize our content because we don't get more than 4,000 hours of watch time on our YouTube. On our Podbean, we have less people engaging. But someone will say, no, you're saying something positive about episode 8. How much did Disney pay you?
Unless it's in negative dollars, to my know-how, I have not received payment from Disney Incorporated.
It is negative dollars. You paid to go see episode 9.
Exactly. I paid them money to talk positively about the movie.
But no, yeah, like, it's just again, the vitriol around this is just, it's so silly. But speaking of vitriol, let's actually get in on some of it. So this is gonna get all of us angry. So Tristan, prepare to get angry. We're talking about the marketing here. I want to talk about some of the tie-ins to other things that gave us more story than this movie may have. Story events of the film were actually revealed in the Disneyland theme park Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and they precede the film, but they're including the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run motion simulator, which features Chewbacca. So they don't say what, but oh my god, if the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run motion simulator in Galaxy's Edge randomly talked about Poe being a fucking smuggler, I will smuggle a pillow over to my face.
Yeah, that's
By the way, I want to go. Don't get me wrong, I'd go to Galaxy's Edge, but like, still, it's just like, Jesus H. Christ.
There's no question for me. I have to, at some point before I leave this mortal coil, go to Galaxy's Edge.
Yes. And then in December 2019, the video game Fortnite Battle Royale released several cosmetics featuring character skins for Rey, Finn, a Sith Trooper, Kylo Ren, and Zori Bliss. So that's nice, along with a TIE Fighter glider. That's nice, a Millennium Falcon glider, and 4 emotes and 2 free banners. That stuff, that's nice. Good for you. Like, I'm happy that Fortnite is getting, it's a big game. A lot of people play fucking Fortnite. So yeah, have Avengers crossovers, have Deadpool crossovers. Good for them. But then, on December 14th, Fortnite's publisher Epic Games released a preview of the film on an in-game theater screen as a live event. And I'm under the impression that it was not a preview that made the cut.
No.
Yes. And at the end of the event, a message from Palpatine, oh, this is the one mentioned in the film's opening crawl, to be fair, was heard. So, to be fair, like, but it says mentioned, so I don't know if it was actually considered like lore or if it's just like a retelling of the opening crawl. Unsure. But the in-game, but the preview of the film, I was under the impression that was a preview not shown in the film itself. Maybe I'm wrong. And then, let's see. And it doesn't show the VR thing that you talked about, the Vader one, but I know that I heard about it too, so I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah. The game is Vader Immortal, so you can even, like, people can look that up too if they want, which people knew about it long before.
Yeah. I'm curious actually about Vader Immortal, only because I don't know if it was like a general. Oh, it's an Oculus Rift one, so that means that it's not PS4.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant VR in the sense that it's virtual reality, or I guess technically augmented reality. We haven't.
No. It is Oculus Rift. That's virtual reality.
Oh, okay.
No, what I meant was I was under the impression it was PSVR.
Fangled contraptions anymore.
I know. But no, I was just under the impression that it was actually a PSVR, which means that if you buy a PSVR headset, you can just plug it into your PS4, etc., etc. But the Oculus, I believe it's separate, so I don't know how that works, to be honest with you. I'm assuming it's all PC based. But yeah, there's 3 episodes for that. Anywho, yeah, so anything you want to say before we start to kind of wind this one down?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just reiterating a bit what I've said already, but like, I guess, sorry, that's one point. I guess the very end of the film, I know you had kind of mentioned, you tied it into the idea of, you have to be related to somebody. That
it feels shitty.
Rey sees Luke and Leia at the end, and she adopts the name Skywalker. I was okay with that.
I'm not saying, look, the reason why I feel weird about it is because, like, okay, good for her that she, wants to, because you took it as, oh, that means that you can be anything you want to be. You don't have to be tied to your familial past.
Yeah, like she goes to people that actually cared for her and like helped her along her way in the path of her life.
Like, but they said it in the movie. They said, Rey, your parents were trying to protect you and they cared for you. So she doesn't even want to take whatever their last name was. I assume that they weren't John and Jill Palpatine. I'm assuming they had a different name. So that's what's weird to me, is that it felt like it was just trying to be a way to tie in the Skywalkers, but it's like, but you just mentioned that her parents weren't shitty people trying to get her killed. They sold her to protect her. It would be like
Skywalker is the one that faded away into the abyss after the horrible things that he did, and his last name's not even Skywalker anymore, it's Solo.
Imagine if Luke was like, wow, Anakin and Padme suck. Uncle Owen and Uncle Owen and
Emperor.
Thank you, Emperor. What are your last names? I'm gonna go with that instead.
Right.
That's kind of the way it was. It was like, wow, you can't even tie in your own shit. Like, her parents are heroes. It would be like if when Peter finds out that his mom and dad died on a plane and they cared about him and everything, he's like, I don't want to be a Parker anymore because they died. It's like, what? It's like, no. The point of the movie was that they protected you and they loved you. You should find out what their name was.
Right.
Or you should go by that. But they wanted it to tie in to make, like, and I don't want to say fanboys because obviously you were happy about it and you weren't complaining about it in the same way others were, but like it felt like they were trying to like not even, I don't want to say manufacture a feel good moment, but they were trying to make it seem like, see, like we made another reference and you like that because it's Skywalker and Rise of the Skywalker. So in a way it was always the Rise of the Skywalker. And it's like, but you said in the movie her parents weren't bad people.
Yeah.
You confirmed it. So she didn't come from bad stock, quote unquote. She was already good just by having her parents try to protect her. And they're looking down from like Force Heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't force sensitive, arguably. Or maybe they were. But they were looking down, and they're like, oh, she's going to finally take our Skywalker.
The fuck?
Wow.
The
What
credits roll.
fucking
before he
bullshit is
drops
this?
it.
Well, this is a bunch of bullshit. Da-na-na-na-na.
Oh, sorry, quick. That was one
Yeah.
thing that was actually that I liked. Han wasn't a Force ghost. He was actually just in Ben's mind. It's his memory of him. And
Yes. Yes, I like that too. That's, I mean, he wasn't blue, no blue tint.
See, that's a nice attention to detail.
Yes.
Unfortunately, not everything got that attention to detail.
Yeah, no, I like that. I've mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. The first half of the movie, fun. Second half of the movie, I was laughing, but I shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
I love the fact that Rey, Poe, and Finn got to go on an adventure together. Like, there are fun moments, there are emotional scenes that resonate with me. But again, once you start to discuss the movie,
which is, what we're doing here, and also,
you're supposed to discuss things after you view them. It's like walking out of a theater and like looking to your friend, like, "Oh, that was great," and we're never going to talk about it again. Right?
Yeah, no, right? You're not supposed to just consume. You consume, and then you go, "Oh man, that was really good. What do you think about it?" And someone goes, "I disagree with all of my heart and soul."
Yeah, and you're like, "Wait, why? Were you in the same theater?" And Civil War.
Well, it's funny because again, like, yeah, your initial thoughts were, I mean, I enjoyed seeing them go on the adventure, but like it really took you some time to process. You saw it, I think, twice because you saw it with friends and then family, or was it just twice?
I think it was just twice. Yeah, because
Okay.
I saw it with a friend and then I saw it with my family.
Okay, got it.
In that scenario, like I saw it with my family and it was a family thing. Like we all love Star Wars.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, like there was some, again, early on there was some great jokes, and you're crying at certain points that obviously are sad. Like, I'm not saying you can't feel things in this movie that aren't like a disdain.
Yeah.
I just think that towards the end, I really was looking at this like it's one of those it's so bad it's good kind of movies. And if you asked me, be like, okay, but like outside of that lens, how do you feel? And I'm like, disappointed, I guess.
Yeah. And like the more I thought about it, the more I kind of realized that
it just doesn't live up to what Star Wars usually is.
Oh, like the idea that they put on, like you said, for the advertising, like, the epic conclusion to the entire Skywalker saga. I'm like, not in your fucking dream, not in your wildest dreams, Disney.
Now, if you tell me, are you saying it's worse than 1, 2, or 3? Don't put words in my mouth. I'm just saying that, as a continuation, this makes me think of 4, 5, and 6 before 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, this is a sequel to 4, 5, and 6. After all, Palpatine isn't coming back from 3, he's coming back from 6.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where this just kind of devolves for me. And, I just explain it to me. Like, why is Palpatine alive again? Nothing? Really? You're going to give me nothing?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I need some convoluted explanation. But you're just telling me, like, I've come back because it happens.
I mean, yeah, the line that people point out is when Poe is like trying to rally everybody.
Oh god, that's such a funny line out of context.
Somehow Palpatine returned, and like that's the one that everyone points out at. It's like, okay, cue laugh track.
Well, no, but it's funny too because like Isaac's delivered it like, fuck, man. If I wish I could tell you, I would. I love it.
Another character behind him who actually played, I believe it was Pippin, the actor who played Pippin in Lord of the Rings. He's a good actor. I like him, but really like his character in this. I should look up the actor.
But yeah, so that's East no good.
Yeah, it like I said, is it no? Pippin, Billy Boyd. Is that it?
And that's what I hate the most about it. Like I mentioned much earlier, as we're really wrapping this one up now. I like literally, dude, like whenever I see a movie and everyone's like, this is awful, I actually come into it being like, all right, well, let's see how awful it is. And then I watch it and I'm like, no, actually, this is much better than what everybody was saying. No, it seems like people were on point with this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I think my favorite description of it is somebody took, and I believe it was from a movie he did afterwards, Adam Driver. It was him coming back from war, I think, and him talking to his wife, and like their marriage was falling apart. I can't remember what it was called, but
Oh yeah, yeah, no, Marriage Story.
yeah, Marriage Story. And there's a line. So it's a screen cap of Adam Driver looking down. I believe he's either talking to his daughter or somebody else, and they're like, "I still love said person," or no, they take out the line completely. I still love Star Wars, even though it doesn't make any sense anymore. And like it was a meme going around, like Kingdom Hearts did too when 3 came
Oh
out. It's like
God,
I still love Kingdom Hearts, even though it doesn't make sense anymore. And
that's fair.
that was the sad realization for me when I'm like, oh God, Star Wars is now on the same level as Kingdom Hearts. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love Kingdom Hearts. You bet your sweet ass, I still bought Kingdom Hearts
But
3 and played the
that's
fuck out.
but that's the thing that sucks about both of those franchises. Like with Kingdom Hearts, like they had so many spin-offs that truly like it's not just extra canon. It really ties into where if you play 3, in my opinion, it's not even like some people online, it was so confusing, they were like, I should be able to play Kingdom Hearts 3 and not have to play 1 and 2, and I was like, I honest to God think you're a troll. And there was big YouTubers, like people who have a real following, who I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard somebody say. You want to play the third one and feel like you
And
can follow along without playing the first two,
everything in that sentence that you just said was wrong.
but I have to say though, it does suck that to play 3, it does feel like you have to play not just 1 and 2, but a decent chunk of the spin-offs.
Yeah.
So, and yes, thankfully they've released them on one platform, at least on the PS4. They have collections and whatnot, so that is nice, to be fair. But it does suck that it feels like you have to jump through all those hoops just to get to 3. But when it comes to Star Wars, it really just needs to be. I mean, yes, there's spin offs. Yes, there's technically 9 movies now. But what I'm getting at, though, is minus Palpatine. All you have to know is in 9, oh, yes, Palpatine was the villain from 6. That's all you really should know. And you can arguably be fine. It's the breakdown, it's the problem with the plot in the story itself. To me, the problem with the plot in Kingdom Hearts isn't just that it's convoluted, it's really the fact that like you have to jump through all these hoops to kind of get to know everything for 3, to then be disappointed by 3, from what I've heard. With 9, it's like even if you've just seen 7 and 8 and 9, and you vaguely know, okay, yes, Luke was the main hero, Han was this guy, Leia was this guy, and they seem to have had a kid. You don't know that until 7, you know? Vader was the bad guy, yada yada. When you get to fucking 9 now, it's just like you just have random shit happening, and it's like, but why? And it's just like, well, we're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
And we're also going to speed through all this other stuff so that you kind of don't really know what's going on from scene to scene. You don't have any breathing room. And then the final battle, even though a lot's happening, it feels like nothing's happening.
It feels very rushed.
And then look at that, everybody won, yay!
And
And
another
that's it.
character, Snap, who's basically one of Poe's best friends, he gets shot down. That's supposed to be an emotional moment, and it was for me because I read the books that he were in. But if you never read the book, you barely even know who Snap is. He's just one of the other pilots. Which,
That's
granted, I guess you could argue that from Wedge and Biggs too, with Luke and 4, but still, I feel like you at least saw Biggs and Luke interact for a scene and be like,
you
yeah, they're
did.
buddies. Tatooine, like
Yeah.
they're they're gonna take on the Empire together, and then Biggs dies, and Luke is left, like my friend just died.
And also to be fair, yes, if you're watching it for the first time, it's going to happen to you like when we're kids. But it's kids who wore out those tapes that's different. In this case, it's a brand new movie coming in, and now it feels like they're trying to again make it incomplete film so that you
Yeah,
can buy more merchandise, consume, consume, consume. So we're gonna wrap this up here. Not on that note, on the note that you can be anything you want to be. You don't have to be from a famous family. You can just be a nobody, and that's okay. That's okay. That's a good message. You could just leave it on that message.
yeah.
For
And I
some
did
reason,
I
yeah.
did love the fact that like Luke and Leia do appear to Rey as Force Ghosts together.
Yeah,
That
no, no,
was
that's the thing.
nice.
Yeah, it was a problem in my mind when she took over the name, but of course they're going
Yeah.
to appear to her. You know, that's
Oh,
of
when
course.
she buries Luke and Leia's sabers together. Leia having a saber too was fucking great. That
Yes,
scene where you see the flashback of them training together.
yes,
God,
because like, why wouldn't they?
I wish I could just see more of that, you know?
Well, I mean, that's probably what the comics are going to touch on
Oh,
if they
exactly.
haven't already.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so either
And I
way,
mean, universe has too, but
yeah,
yeah, that's the
you know,
whole
yeah,
animal.
a disappointing end to a trilogy that I don't think was disappointing. Seven started off strong. Eight had its problems, regardless of what you think about it. I do think that it's fair to say that it had its problems.
Yeah, it took a different direction, but that didn't mean it was a bad direction. It
I
was just
think, yeah, my problem with it was Benicio del Toro. He played the Codebreaker character.
yeah,
He just seemed like a random addition to the film. And then having Rose and Finn at the end there, I was like, why? Because it didn't seem like they had chemistry, even though they seemed nice together, like just as people. They didn't really seem to have a crazy chemistry.
yeah.
And
I
then,
mean,
and
trying to
then,
show that the war takes on both sides have their hand in like playing in this war. Like I get that kind of message, and like Clone Wars plays that message a lot too. But Clone Wars has the time to build that out and build that moral dilemma.
yes, and I also like the fact, yeah, I mean, I liked the aesthetic of the casino and the fact that it's like, hey, these are the people, these are the shitty people that are selling fucking weapons to the First Order. Aren't they awful? I mean, a very good anti, corporatist, not even corporatist, but like anti 1% message where it's like, these, how do you think they're this rich? Not that all people
Right.
that are rich are bad, but how do you think these people are this rich? Well, they're selling weapons to the First Order. How do you think you get this rich nowadays?
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, that's a very interesting message, an
Yep.
anti-war message as well. Because I mean, Star Wars, wars is in the name, but it's not always about how great the wars are. You're seeing people die all the fucking time.
Wars not make one great.
Yeah. So again, not completely awful with eight, but at the
Yeah.
same time, though, splitting them up again,
Right.
not having them all together, and then having, again, I liked Rose's character, but I don't see
Right.
why she needed to be with Finn.
Yeah.
And
And I
then,
feel like
yeah.
that scene, like on Kato Bite, would have been instead of the casino, building up the idea that there are other First Order deserters, like Finn was, where you see in Nine. That was supposed to be a whole arc for Finn's character.
By the way, I love that we see that so briefly in nine, and then somewhat we see them connect in a way where I'm like, all right, so Finn's kissing random women every movie. Are they gonna kiss?
Yeah, I
And then
was
they didn't
wondering
do
that
that.
too.
No, like, honest to God, I bet you money that if Disney wanted to right now, they probably fucking should. They should release, like, episode 9, The Lost Files, and just, like, fucking hodgepodge together a bunch of random I bet you they can make a deleted scenes movie out of it and be like, look, we're not going to be beholden to the same narrative structure. We'll say this one is called the Finn section. They'll just have like, Finn, and then it'll be all Finn shit from the movie that vaguely ties together.
Yeah.
And then this will be for Rose, and then it'll be shit that vaguely ties together, because it doesn't have to be antithetical to the canon, but it could
Right.
be additional. Because I bet you money they have shit that would have made the movie flow better, but then it would have made the movie 3 hours, and Disney did not want that.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
shit, you could write novels about what everybody's doing after the war, you know?
I'm just saying
Shit.
they have the footage.
Yeah, right.
But no, that's the thing. I think it was I was talking to John about this before. John usually comes on to Star Trek Thursdays with me to talk about Star Trek TNG. So I was talking to John. And I think he said something like Abrams was even surprised with the cut of the movie they used. So they might have a lot of fucking footage on the cutting room floor of a lot of other cooler shit. Not even the leaked script that never was looked at, because that's like a kind of Snyder cut thing where like for Justice League. I don't know if you know that, Tristan. There's like people have this vague idea of like there being something called a Snyder cut, like basically like a director's cut of Justice League, but really there is no Snyder's cut, arguably, because even if there was something resembling it, it would be before any of the CG was made for it,
Right.
so it would look like an awful mess.
Yeah.
Like that leak of Wolverine Origin. I don't know if you remember that from 2007. The entirety of Wolverine Origins got leaked before it came out in theaters, but it was a work print. So like it had missing CG everywhere.
Right. Yeah, there were Clone Wars arcs and episodes that came out after it was canceled, and season 6 had put
Oh
out
yeah,
on DVD. There were still story arcs that weren't, they weren't completely animated.
but they were storyboarded.
Yeah. So like some of it was animated, a lot of it was like clunky and blocky, but like the story,
McClunky.
the voices were there, you know.
Have we ever? We haven't gotten to talk about McClunky yet. Just a quick laugh. McClunky.
McClunky. God damn it.
Rey and Ben Solo lovingly look into each other's eyes. Rey says, "Ben." Ben says, "McClunky,"
And dies.
and dies.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, so either way, we love you all as always. Thank you all so much for listening in as always. Again, it's not May the 4th, but it is as close as we can get it. I don't think we were able to, not only was May the 4th not a Star Wars Wednesday, but I don't think both of us were free on that day. Happy that you're feeling well though, Tristan, and that we can have talk about some fun Star Wars. Hopefully we talk about some more Star Wars in the future. Hopefully if we do Star Wars Clone Wars, every single time I say something, Tristan doesn't go, "No, it's okay." "Oh man, I hope this character has a long and healthy life." You're just fucking crying.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. We might have to wait long enough so that it's like in the back of your mind, because it just ended.
Oh, don't worry, it never will be.
All right, that's perfect.
It's always going to be a horrible festering open wound.
That's fucking wonderful.
Because
So-
that's what the end of the Clone Wars is.
Yeah. So anyway, again though, thank you all so much for listening in as always. If you're listening to this through our Podbean, which is podbean.com/those guys on the radio, thank you so much. Our YouTube channel being Those Guys on the Radio, thank you so much for doing that as well. And you can also go to our Facebook, facebook.com/those guys on the radio, and our Twitter @those guys radio. Tweet us there with some of your thoughts on our opinions about stuff. Tristan, anything you want to say before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to take a second to say, I mean, thank you, Matt. And, if you've been watching these, if you've watched all the, or not watched, if you've listened to all these Star Wars podcasts that we've done, at least for the, movies, this is it. This is the last, quote unquote, main storyline Star Wars title. So that's kind of a big deal for me, in a way. I know it's a little rocky here and there, but, like, yeah, this series means a lot to me, and I'm glad we've been able to do this together, and I'm happy that people listen. So, thank you.
I feel the exact same way, but remember, the story is ending here, but in about 2 to 3 years, we're going to have an episode 10. So, it's going to follow the Jedi Order, hopefully a long, long time ago, but
True.
it's still going to be episode 10. So I'm not saying that we can't have a beautiful send-off here. Oh no, it's Palpatine. Palpatine, fuck. I fuck people. I have a granddaughter, which means I fucked. Oh no, he's fucked. I love those jokes on Twitter, by the way. People were like, he made babies. And the movie never addresses it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we, like, talk exclusively about it. I'm not saying we turn this movie into a sex ed class. I'm just saying that, like...
Yeah, because no one wanted to think about that at all.
No, I'm just saying that, like...
Twitter.
I'm just trying to say that, like, are they just assuming, is Abrams like, they're hopefully going to assume it's midichlorians again.
Oh my god.
No, because, like, no, but that's better than Palpatine fucking at this point. I'll take midichlorians every day of the week, twice on Sunday, because that's the Lord's Day.
Oh, that's when Obi-Wan Kenobi revived to help kill Darth Maul. Or no, that's Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon fought Darth Maul in the desert.
Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. At a certain point...
They're both Jesus.
They're both Jesus, right. At different points of his life. All right, so we're gonna end this here on that note. Love you all. Have a good night.
Do something nice, and this is what Matt turns it into. This is why we can't have nice things.
No, it was a nice, beautiful moment. We just have to end it on Palpatine, because apparently you just can't end something on nice moments. It has to be Palpatine related.
No one ever really dies, right? Cue Palpatine laughing. God damn it.
Yep, we'll see you in episode 10. And before that, we still keep on doing Star Wars stuff every now and again. So it seems like we're going to be focusing on Clone Wars for the near future. Although if Tristan's crying that much, we'll move on to Rebels. Oh no, he's crying again. For fuck's sakes.
Finish Clone Wars if I have anything to say about it.
All right then. So love you all. Take care and tune in next time for another episode of Those Guys on the Radio, specifically Star Wars Wednesday. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
And also with you.